First Baptist Church of Westwood Lake at my invitation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
All right, shall we pray? Thank you so much for allowing me to be here today. Our Heavenly Father, we come before you this morning with thankful hearts, mindful of the great responsibilities placed to those who serve our community. We're grateful for Miami-Dade County, the people, its neighborhoods, and the many cultures that make up this wonderful city. We also today, in special remembrance of what took place many years ago in our world, the Holocaust. Thank you for these that were here today, and I'm grateful that this county remembers what took place, the tragedy, atrocities that came across this world. And as already been said, we pray, Lord, that this will never happen again. We ask you today to guide these commissioners and who participate in today's meeting. Grant them wisdom beyond their own understanding. May every decision that it be shaped by compassion, by justice, and sincere concern for the well-being of our community. I think of your word, Lord. It says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who cometh before you liberally to all without reproach. With that promise, we ask you to grant wisdom, clarity, and discernment to these commissioners and all that participate in today's meeting. May their hearts be guided by humility and the words of truth. We lift up the residents of our county, our families, our children, our seniors, our workers, those who feel unheard or overlooked. May the work that they do not go unnoticed. Bless our first responders, Lord, our public servants, and all those that labor daily in the good of this wonderful county, Miami-Dade. This meeting begins. Lord, we ask for your peace to rest upon this chamber, and may your guidance be evident in all that is said and done. We entrust this time to you with gratitude and faith. In your precious Son's name we pray it. Amen. Amen.
All right, you may be seated. Thank you, Pastor. All right, Madam Attorney, good morning. Well, I think it is fitting to start by wishing our Madam Attorney a belated happy birthday. So happy belated, even though I may have been the first one to sing happy birthday to her. And
I think we need to sing it after the meeting.
you want to sing it after the meeting? I'm in.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Of course, I hope you did enjoy the rest of your birthday. Her morning started off in long briefings with yours truly. So, all right. Should we go into reasonable opportunity for the public to be heard?
Yes, that would be appropriate.
All right. Reasonable opportunity for the public to be heard is now open. Do I have a list? All right, I do. All right. You know the drill. When I call your name, state the item on which you're speaking on, your name and address, and you will have 1 minute to speak. I'm going to start with our tax collector, Dariel Fernandez.
Good morning. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for letting me speak. My name is Dariel Fernandez. I am Miami-Dade County tax collector. I am here to show strong support for two important items. Item 11A4 by Commissioner Milian Orbis. It asks the federal government to make stronger rules and provide more transparency about general licenses related to Cuba. When these licenses are misused, they allow business activities that helps the communist regime in Cuba. This affects many families in Miami-Dade County and put the national security of the United States at risk. Under Florida law and Miami-Dade County ordinance, my office must revoke or refuse to renew a business tax receipt in certain situations. We are now reviewing businesses that may be doing business commerce connecting to Cuba, and we are doing this because the law requires us to do it. We are working with Department of State, Department of Commerce, Homeland Security, IRS, and others. I recently met with U.S. Ambassador to Cuba, Mike Hammer, to talk about this issue. The federal government is watching Miami-Dade County very closely and support this compliance work our office is doing.
Mr. Tax Collector, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
You're the best.
Thank you.
All right, and I want to officially welcome, not just welcome you to the well, but also welcome you to the chamber. And the same goes for Commissioner Rosado. Welcome to Dade County's chamber, and you are welcome to approach the well.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Madam Mayor, and members of the County Commission. My name is Ralph Rosado. I'm the District 4 City Commissioner for the City of Miami, and I'm here to strongly support Commissioner Orbis's Resolution 11A4. I want to thank her for her leadership on an issue that is of deep importance to our community. When it comes to Cuba, Miami-Dade is not just one other county. We are essentially the front line. We're home to the largest Cuban exile community in the country, and we're a major hub for Cuba-related commerce. When sanctions fail, our community is exploited. Why does this item matter? The federal government licenses businesses were created for humanitarian purposes. They weren't meant to be exploited by entities linked back to regimes that terrorize their communities on a daily basis. We have a large fight ahead of us, but by working together as a county, a city, in tandem with the federal government and our state of Florida government, we can actually make a change in people's lives. That's why I've introduced similar legislation at the City of Miami, and it's being heard tomorrow. This is about compliance, accountability, and protecting Miami-Dade from being exploited and taken advantage of. We know this to be true. Our community did not flee oppression in order to finance it from afar.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I strongly urge you to support this item. Thank you.
Thank you, and I know I speak for myself for sure, but hopefully for all my colleagues, we all stand with both of you that just spoke, and of course with our colleague Commissioner Orbis in her item. All right, next up, I've got Renita Holmes. Renita, where are you? Mrs. Holmes. I don't see her, and I know her. Oh, there's my friend. No, she's here. She's here.
Madam Renita Holmes, Executive Director, thank you for having my back, sir. Hope you had a great MLK. Just very quickly, 2B1, 2BT, I hadn't had time to get down here, a real agenda, to find out whether or not the report has been given. Here's my interest in the report. About a year or so more ago, we visited the mayor's office, about 30 seniors, persons with disability, HOA members, regarding the issue of flooding. As an empowered, resilient woman, and the BBC's 2024 Resilient Woman, I have made it not just an experience in my life as a senior, but to advocate along with my neighbors and the HOA leaders regarding the need for the flooding program to be addressed, particularly when I did not see it addressed in the budget. Lastly, the environmental impact grant. I'd like to make sure that report, and I'd like to request right now a copy of that report and the status, because as the executive director and founder of Toxic Tour, we know that flooding in our community is severe, and we know that seniors and persons with disability and HOAs are madly affected by it. So I would like to just address that and put it on the record, and I'd like to thank you for coming out and giving us that attention in your office. I know we didn't have an appointment, but we were pretty ticked off that we only had 1 minute. And with that, I say thank you and have a great meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Holmes. Appreciate it. All right, I got Manuel Marcial, Michael Perez, Berenice Yanes. Please stand up and approach the well. Manuel Marcial, Michael Perez, Berenice Yanes, Marcelo Valladares, Maria Claudia Fontes, Isabella Lewis, and Noel Cleland. You can approach. One can take each podium. State your name and address, the item on which you're speaking on, and you have 1 minute to speak. Please be respectful of your colleagues.
All right. Hello, my name is Michael Perez. I live at 15330 Southwest 155 Court, District 9. And I'd like to introduce myself as an environmental scientist, but I'm not here to yell about the Everglades and the impacts it will face from incineration. I'm here to talk about cost. You know, I hear a lot of things from this board about, government efficiency. how is spending billions on an incinerator we don't need efficient? There are other solutions out here, and I don't think you guys are backed into a corner. You know, I've seen the proposal from Convanta. I've seen this idea of having biodigesters, composting facilities. Other options are on the table. You know, all these not in my backyard groups have said, oh, we don't want it in Doral, we don't want it in Hialeah. When you push this in the Everglades, all of us are affected. This is our drinking water here. I mean, I'm so surprised that I'm reminding this board that has fought for Biscayne Bay, water quality, all these things that, you know, the Everglades is all of our water source. We all shower, I hope. You know, this is something that, like I said, affects all of us. Let's not forget that.
Good morning, Marcelo Valladares, 16171 Southwest 73rd Street, speaking on behalf of Sierra Club Florida. As their Everglades organizer, I'm speaking in opposition to item 6A1. An incinerator in Miami-Dade will see significant fee increases of 50% of what households currently pay across the county, from $700 to roughly $1,000 from one year to the next. Additionally, all currently proposed areas and locations for an incinerator are in proximity to the Everglades, threatening the protected habitat of countless endangered species, our shared ecosystem, and a source of water for 1 in 3 Floridians. A significant amount of our water in Miami-Dade also comes from the Everglades, like Michael just mentioned. And finally, this decision is going to stick with the county long after all your terms are over. And I just hope that with the expected 30 to 40 year operational dates, you consider how this will also affect your legacies. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir.
Hello, I'm Manuel Marcial, currently residing in 1205 Mariposa Avenue, Coral Gables. I would also like to speak in opposition to the 6A1, the incinerator that is being planned to be built on the border of the Everglades. I think that to build another plant where more pollutants could be deposited into these already imperiled wetlands is just a continuation of this already unfortunate history that the government here in South Florida has towards the decimation of these endangered this endangered environment. You know, to spend billions of dollars on this plant when really money needs to be spent on Everglades restoration is just a disservice, not just to the environment, but to the communities that inhabit the Everglades and around it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Good morning. My name is Bernice. I live at 500 Northeast 29th Street, and I'm speaking in opposition of item 6A1 to build a new incinerator. A month ago, we were all here and hearing FCC's and FPL's proposals, and they weren't good proposals, right? That's why we said we need more time to discuss this. Let's do an industry day sometime before the 21st meeting. That didn't happen, right? Because it was unrealistic timeline. They have a lot of work to do, and it really is because it's a really expensive project. These things are never on budget. They're never on like a timeline. Knowing that, are we really gonna go down the road of what that's gonna be? It's like, oh, we decide to do it in a year or two and then it's 10 years operational. It's gonna like drop out into a way longer battle. So let's just remove it from the table and let's look into the composting facilities. Let's look into these other things that are actually gonna solve the problems that we have with our waste, rather than continue to spend energy on this incinerator that we are gonna pay for, that it's not even gonna really like satisfy or like meet our needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Maria Claudia Schubert Fontes. I reside at 10063 Costa del Sol Boulevard, Doral, Florida. Today I'm here to speak on item 6A1. I'm asking commissioners to reconsider the decision to lock our county into a toxic, costly, and long-term contract to incinerate. Austin is a wonderful case study of a community that has invested in alternatives to incineration and has seen a steady decrease in waste production. In 10 years, they implemented solutions that brought down their waste production. In the time that takes our county to build an incinerator, Miami-Dade could well be on its way to an economically prosperous zero-waste county. I urge this commission to search for cost-saving solutions that promote a circular economy and ensure the health of our community is not compromised. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Isabella Elena Lois. I've been serving as a Girl Scout for Troop 361 for 13 years, and I continue to do so after my graduation. I've spent each year dedicated to the Everglades and in sharing with our community the beauty of our unique ecosystem. I'm very disappointed to hear in issue 61A, and I greatly oppose it entirely. I commend the last 5 people in their arguments against this, because I do believe there is so much funding that we could put into more effective ways to manage our waste. We could actually reform our recycling systems. There are way better options than to continue to erode our very, very, very unique ecosystem. And as a member of this community and as a member for my troop of 361, I'm very concerned for the future of the Everglades. So thank you.
Sir?
Hello, I'm Noel Cleland, 5990 Southwest 50th Street, Miami. And I'm here to speak in opposition to 6A1. I noticed, going through the agenda today, how many items you have some significant dollars associated with them as far as what you're going to be voting on. Let me make a real quick list here. $1,750, $600 million, $300 million, $16,816,937.50, $8,471,833, $333,023, $15,776,289, $200,000, $9,050,000, $385,947,000, $1,650,000, $3.9 million, $5 million, $2 million, $727,966 million, $99 million. It goes on and on and on. And yet the cost for the incinerator isn't even showing up on the item for 6A1. So we need to be honest with the fiscal responsibility here. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mr. McKnight?
Good morning, Madam Mayor and Commissioner. Castus Yatta McKnight, President for McKnight Auto Repair Corporation. It's a dealer and auto repair facility. I'm also a central worker and also with a federal ID. As for the incinerator, if our citizens allowed to have barbecue in their backyard, this Miami-Dade County definitely need the incinerator 100%. On another subject, I'm trying to get revenue for Miami-Dade County. I was floated in the water in 2024 on the flash flood in Miami. A first responder staff from Aventura, she worked for the city of Aventura, called me. I went out together. My truck floated. I never seen so much water in all my life. My truck, the water was 1 feet from the door angle. So I went to the mayor meeting and I tell them to all identify the flood zone, have those citizens put drain on their property and tap into the sewer. If the water and sewer department cannot maintain that capacity, they got area 15 feet in diameter, drill 5 miles into the earth to create a holding system. But they said they don't want to mess with the aquafish system. So I came up with an idea to use the railroad, build above structure, above the railroad. So I'm trying to get funding from the government. I want Miami-Dade to accept this funding. I'm trying to get funding from Miami-Dade County.
Thank you, Mr. McKnight.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. All right. That is all the speakers I have registered to speak. Did Isabella Lewis speak? Isabella, is that you? She did? Okay. All right. So with that, reasonable opportunity is now closed. Madam Attorney, shall we set the agenda at this time?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I have the following changes. Item 2B5, Commissioner Bermudez is adding this item to the poll list. 2B11, Senator Garcia and Commissioners Bermudez and Bastien add this item to the poll list. 8F1, Senator Garcia is adding the item to the poll list. 8G1, Senator Garcia and Commissioner Milian Orbis add the item to the poll list. 8G3, Commissioner Milian Orbis pulls the item. 8K3 and its supplement, Commissioner Hardiman is pulling the item. 8P1, Senator Garcia adds this item to the poll list. Senator Garcia is also adding items 8P2, 8P3, 9A1, and 11A1 to the poll list. I can repeat those. 8P2, 8P3, 9A1, and 11A1. Commissioner Regalado is adding 11A2 and 11A5 to the pull list. Senator Garcia adds 11A6 and 14A2. Chairman Rodriguez adds 15B1 to the pull list. Commissioners Bermudez and Commissioner Gonzalez are adding items 15C1 and its supplement. I also received word Commissioner Regalado would like to pull 6A1 and its supplement and 14B1. In addition to those pulls, I have requests for co-sponsorship. Items 81, 82, 8G2, Commissioner Regalado, co-sponsor. 8 and 6, Commissioner Regalado assumes sponsorship of that item. Items 11A1 and 11A2, Commissioner Bermudez, co-sponsor. 11A3, Commissioner Gonzalez, co-sponsor. 11A4 substitute, Commissioners Bermudez and Gonzalez, co-sponsor. And 14A1, Senator Garcia and Commissioner Gonzalez wish to co-sponsor, as well as Commissioner Regalado. The items to be considered at today's meeting will be those listed in the printed final agenda, with the additions, deferrals, withdrawals, and Scrivener's errors noted in the chairman's memorandum and the items I just mentioned. The commission will approve all of these items by a single vote, setting the agenda except item 2B1, the mayor's appointment of the director of the Office of Management and Budget and the interim director of libraries, ordinances for first reading, public hearings, item 6A1 and its supplement, which is a discussion item regarding status of contract negotiations with the Joint Developer Consortium for a new waste-to-energy facility, ordinances set for second reading, item 8A1, a commercial service airport contract, and item 14B1, a report which pursuant to Florida statutes must be voted on separately and are not on the poll list. 14B1 has actually been added to the poll list, Mr. Chair. And the following poll list items: 2B5, 2B11, 6A1, 8F1, 8G1, 8G3, 8K3 and supplement, 8P1, 8P2, 8P3, 9A1, 11A1, 11A2, 11A5, 11A6, 14A1, 14A2, 14B1, 15B1, and 15C1 in supplement. A motion to set the agendas in order.
It's been moved by Commissioner Lopez. It's been seconded by Commissioner Bermudez. Any discussion on the setting of the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor of setting the agenda signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show the agenda hereby set. Madam Attorney, can we take up item 8A1 and 14B1?
Mr. Chair, 8A1 is an aviation item. It requires a separate vote.
Been moved by Commissioner Gilbert. It's seconded by Commissioner Lopez. Is this a voice vote?
Yes.
Any discussion on it? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Do you move 14B1, Commissioner Gilbert?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Regalado ended up adding 14B1 to the poll list. I don't know if you want to take it now or with the other poll.
I'll take it now. So Commissioner Gilbert moves 14B1. It's seconded by Commissioner Lopez. And Commissioner Regalado, you're recognized on your pool on 14B1. $14B1, did you pull or no? Director, do you need to, does anybody need to read a statement on this one before? What's up, my man?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Whenever. Go ahead. Can we do that while Commissioner Regalado gets her
yes.
bearings in order?
Our director, Stacy Miller, Department of Transportation Public Works, will come forward.
Can she get here?
Yes. Well, yes.
Director? Is she
We've
here?
asked the director to read the statement.
Director, this is the item where you read the statement.
While she comes down really quick,
Yep.
I just had a question about the report. Since we added this on the agenda, I know that we're following the reporting per state statute, but since we use this money in part to fund the sheriff, can we put in some information about the budget and if we're on track? Because I think that would be helpful for us as we go into the mid-year. So this is actually projection funding. So we have the numbers of how much is being collected, but we're not matching that up to the budget. So I had to like go to the budget book and match it up. And the budget book obviously does the annual, not the quarterly. So moving forward, could we just put in like a line regarding the projections and how this ties into the budget? I think that would help us all just ensure as we go into the midterm that we're still within the range that we projected for this funding.
That works.
We'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
And do you want to go ahead and read your statement now?
I do. Thank you. I appreciate that. So this report is an annual requirement per state statute. There are certain components that do need to be read into the record. So if you'll give me a moment, I will read that into the record. So these are program results for the Miami-Dade County Red Speed Program from December 1st, 2025 to July 31st, 2025. Notice of violations issued were 252,873. Notice of violations contested, 2,129. Notices of violations upheld at administrative hearing, 1,598. Notices of violation dismissed at administrative hearing, 531. Notices of violation paid, 1,070, 404. And notices of violation issued as uniform traffic citations, 75,468. Distribution of funds for the 2024-25 fiscal year. The Florida Department of Revenue General Revenue Fund received $3,408,080. Florida Department of Revenue Department of Law Enforcement Criminal Justice Standards and Training Trust Fund received $511,212. The County School District received $2,044,848. The School Crossing Guard Recruitment and Retention Program received $852,020. Miami-Dade County, this is for Program Administration and Public Safety Initiatives, received $6,645,756. And Red Speed received $3,578,484 for a total of $17,040,400, excuse me. Additional fees, credit card chargebacks, return checks, and refunds was a negative $32,800, and hearing officer fees were $74,450.
Thank you, Director. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, can we have the information regarding the budget? And she agreed to put it in the report moving forward.
Yeah, show the record that the director has agreed to add that to the report or a budget or some form on paper that we can look at that. Yep.
Thank you.
I'd agree. All right, with that, Commissioner Hardiman.
Thank you for recognizing me, Mr. Chair. You know, during our budgeting cycle, we gave some direction as to how the money was to be allocated in the budget. And the question I have for the board as far as discussion-wise is, did any of you anticipate that we would not have, I'm trying to figure out a better way to say this. So, did anyone anticipate, one, that we wouldn't have the revenue from the program to support all of the aims that we had for distribution? So, for instance, with the revenue sharing, there was supposed to be a share of it that goes to each of the districts that were affected, so they can have the ability to assist with issues of crime reduction in whichever way we go about doing it. I know we gave a portion of those dollars to the sheriff's office, but it threw me for a loop, and I just was wondering if it threw any of you all for a loop, that we weren't going to have the revenue to cover, and then two, 100% of the dollars that were coming into Miami-Dade County were being first given to the sheriff's office before we were able to do anything within any of our districts for those dollars.
I'm not. Commissioner Regalado, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying, that the item doesn't speak to the decisions that we made in the budget, right? So the report should speak to the line item and the projections. I think when we decided to fund the sheriff, the conversation was that we would still retain our portion, should that portion exist. So I think from a budgetary perspective, the idea was that we would pay what was due to the sheriff, and then if something was left over, because they're projections, right? Which is why I think we should have quarterly information on these projections. But that's going to come up in the mid-year. So that's why I'm saying at the mid-year, we'll be able to shift that. So for example, if there is a change in allocation in the mid-year for the sheriff, which we think that there will be, could that then shift this funding so that the districts could receive some of that money now instead of some of that money at the end of the year? Because if we get it at the end of the year, then we're not really getting it in this budget, we're getting it in the next budget, and it might be swept. That's my concern.
Is that Commissioner Hardeman?
Just a quick response to that, and then the Vice Chairman is asking to be recognized. Thank you for saying that, because what I haven't really seen is what's the plan for us to meet the budgetary projections that were presented to us earlier, right? Because if we don't meet those budgetary projections, then we don't have the revenue that we expected to have, right? And so, when you think about a program like this, part of the benefit to it, because I know this costs our taxpayers money, especially in areas where people are very confused about how the red camera speed program works. What are the true times? Are you just doing it during the school hour time? It's different from what it used to be, put it that way. And so people are being tagged with this bill. And then for those of our districts who are most affected, they don't have the ability to, even for us to for it to be reinvested into their neighborhoods. And so it's one thing to be tagged. It's another thing for then you to be able to reinvest it in the neighborhood that is getting the most, that are paying the most in the fees. And so I thought that was sort of the spirit of everything. And unfortunately, because we're not getting a portion of the revenue just yet, it's a bit frustrating, not only for the district, but certainly for the constituencies.
Yeah, and it is my understanding, and I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but it is my understanding that we do have those funds coming into our district areas, if you would say, but they do have to be used. And I think some of us have already allocated those funds to certain things or organizations or things of that nature. But I understand what you're saying, Commissioner Regalado, of matching that up, which is somewhat what you're saying too, Commissioner, is to the budget to kind of see what's left over for us to allocate, right? Is that what you're kind of, because I know we have received the funds. I'm not sure
Well, I think that's a question, because yes, we made an allocation, but I know if people receive funds in order to be able to be given to these organizations.
Through the chair, we'd be happy to have our Office of Management and Budget clarify the questions that are being raised.
Hi, good morning. Ray Baker, Office of Management and Budget Director. Good to see you all today. So that's correct. There are the money that's first coming in or projected to come in to the sheriff. Once we receive all the funds that match up to the budget for that, the next tranche would be what would be available for the districts as it was allocated across the 13 districts in the second budget memo. And that is divided up by the QNIP allocations for your district. So you all are correct bringing up these questions. Are we going to have enough money ready for that bucket, the bucket that's spread across your districts, to begin allocating and spending? And I believe the correct solution is that we give a good regular update on what we've actually received in revenues from this funding source, so that we know that it is okay to start spending it, so to speak.
My question is, and this is sort of, you're right, it is from the last budget, but now my question is, because you had a pretty good answer. Like, you know what you're talking about, Director. So, Commissioner Hardeman, have you expressed this to them prior? Have you asked this question to them prior, or you have? I thought so, because he had the answer.
Well, I haven't spoken to him.
Correct, but like the administration had the answer. I'm wondering why that wasn't part of the report, if there was a sense that some commissioners could have had questions on that. And that could be to the mayor, to the director, to the chief.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I think the motion that was made, which is to make sure that that report going forward includes the actual budget numbers as opposed, in addition to the other numbers that need to be read into the record, included as part of it, should be what we're doing going forward.
Okay, thank you for that. Vice Chair and then Commissioner Gilbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and he pretty much answered the question because I had the same questions that Commissioner Hardiman had, and I believe it was Commissioner Regalado that helped clear it up. So I'm fine with your answer, Mr. Baker.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gilbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just to put it plainly, we don't get paid until everybody else gets paid. So let's just, that's it, all right? We get paid after everybody else gets paid. The reason why we do that is because we use that money to shore up holes in other places. That was allowable by the statute. So we get paid after everybody else. I understand that. But I just want to be clear because something was said that it might get swept later if it comes in late. I don't subscribe to the idea that the administration can automatically, without our authority, sweep money out of any of our accounts. So I just want us to be clear about that before we go forward, because it was said, and you might have said it, and they might not have thought about it, and then they're like, "Oh, we can just sweep it." No, you can't. No, you can't. You can't sweep it. Whenever the money comes in, the budget ordinance is a duly adopted, legally binding thing. You're controlled by it. It's our money. No, you cannot sweep it. We get to allocate that money in our districts for public safety, road improvements, however we see fit for our districts.
Correct. You are correct, Commissioner Gilbert. And that's why we, as a body, decided to sweep our own fund and give towards the sheriff in the last budget. All right. With that, all in favor of the report signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Show the report passed. Madam Attorney, can we take the mayoral appointment of Director Baker, item 2B1?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, it's item 2B1. It's the appointment of Ray Baker as OMB Director, as well as the interim appointment for libraries.
All right. Get 1 second, Madam Mayor. Is it on 2B1?
Yeah, it was on the, I just want to say one thing on the other item before we move on. If we are concerned about our allocation, we should consider that as we go into the mid-year and put some of the mid-year funds, if there is money from the sheriff, into an account to make sure that this revenue is on time, right? Because that's the issue. So to Commissioner Hardiman's point, let's say that, we know that after Parkland, the only way that you can get in and out of a school is through the entrance. But these things are set up all the way around. So if people are getting tickets at the back of your school, and let's say you want to put some signage there, right? You're not going to be able to do that the way that we set it up in this budget year. But when we get to the midterm, if we set up some funding as a catch-all in case there's a revenue issue with these cameras, then we could probably take that money a little bit sooner because there is a fallback, and then at the budget, adjust it. So this is a mid-year conversation that we should be having, looking at the revenue. Statutorily, we're required to receive this annually, but I think since we're using it to fund the sheriff's office, and that was a decision that this board made, we should be looking at this revenue every 3 to 4 months to ensure that we're on time. And on budget in terms of receiving that revenue. That would be my suggestion if we're concerned about it not being swept. My point to the being swept is if we get into our next budget cycle, there may be a recommendation for that money if there is some that has not been utilized because it hasn't been paid to the sheriff, even though it's going to us. There may be a recommendation to then reassess that money because we're getting it into the next budgetary year. We're not going to be using it in this budget year.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as we're preparing for this year's budget season early and deliberately, and we know that this moment calls for steady leadership and deep experience, we need absolute credibility at the helm of the Office of Management and Budget. Ray Baker, our new director, brings more than 32 years of experience in Miami-Dade County government, a true understanding of how our government works. He's worked in several departments, including in the Office of Management and Budget. He is the right leader at this moment to guide the county through the complex fiscal environment. He has been a director since 2017, and he's built a reputation as a disciplined, thoughtful, and solutions-driven executive. And I know you've all had that experience working with him in the library. So this coming year will require some tough decisions, careful planning, and stronger collaboration than ever. And Ray is the man for the job. I want to thank David Clodfelter for his many faithful years of service as my budget director since the beginning of my first term. He is stepping into a new advisor role where he has his work cut out for him, and I want to congratulate Lydia Lopez, our new interim director at the Miami-Dade Public Library System. I will tell you that although her name is not Baker, she is a great baker. So if you have not had that experience, hopefully you will soon find out. With that, I present to you our new director, Ray Baker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Director, you're recognized for very brief remarks.
Very brief. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Chief Edwards. Thank you, Chris, for having this faith in me. And just thank you to all the board members that I've talked to, that have reached out, that have thanked me. I'm really looking forward to working with you all in this role. I know it's a much different role and a much bigger beast that we'll be working on going forward. But I'm prepared, ready for the challenge, and look forward to meeting with all of you more, hearing your priorities, and working through this budget process. So thank you very much.
Director Baker, I had the opportunity to obviously had a Zoom call with you yesterday and some of the mayor's team. I welcomed you to your new role, so thank you for taking this. And I jokingly mentioned to the director if this was a lateral, a demotion, or what this was, because this is quite the challenge that you're signing up for, or that you've agreed and you were signed up for. But I will say, and of course, libraries is extremely important to our community and our schools and our children. But your new position is no library. So make sure you tighten the pants and put on your boots, because it's going to get rocky.
Understood.
Commissioner Gilbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just take this moment to remind you, Mr. Baker, and congratulations on your appointment. I've had my conversations probably with the mayor and with Chris about this, and with you. I'm impressed by you. I think this is a very challenging position and a very challenging time. But I want us to all centralize our thoughts on this. The budget is actually our budget. So the budget director works for the mayor, but the budget is adopted by the commission. It's our budget, and so you work for her, but in a very strange way, the duty to give us information, the duty to be responsive to us, it is a consistent and persistent fact that I think you ought to go into this position being mindful of. And in times past, I don't know that that's been actually the stream of thought that we've had. So if we're going to make it through this next budget year, which is in fact likely to be worse than the last budget year, which was torture, we're going to have to communicate directly, honestly, and understand the consequences of our actions. And so, in speaking with you, I'm reassured that you understand that. But I wanted to say it publicly because that's the level of transparency that we're going to have with regard to this document. I still believe, as I said in my very first term, very first day, I think that our values document is our budget. And how we actually spend our collective dollars, that's important. And that's often tested when we get into very tight times. What we believe, how we believe, and what we're willing to spend on. You're the tip of the sword on that, because you're going to be the person who gives us the information and helps us design pathways forward that will actually keep this community whole, which is central to all of our thoughts. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gilbert. Commissioner Bermudez, you're recognized.
Be brief. Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Baker, and you did a great job at the libraries. But I wanted just piggyback on Commissioner Gilbert's comments. There's 13 of us. One of my pet peeves is the lack of information being provided to all 13, just selectively. So I'm going to certainly support Commissioner Gilbert's comments. I hope you keep that in mind for all 13 of us, not just me, but the 12 others. Because the one thing that has driven me crazy sometimes during the budget cycle is conversations with others and not with all of us. So I haven't had a chance, like Commissioner Gilbert, to sit down with you, but I congratulate you and wish you Godspeed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm gonna recognize you guys in a second. Is former director Claude Filter here or no?
No, but I saw him having lunch with his wife last week. He looked happy as heck.
See, yeah, I'm sure he is. Well, I'm sure he is, and if he's not here, I still want to put on the record that he may have been the director this last budget cycle under one of the most challenging budgets that this county has seen in our history. And of course, obviously, we know that our past board went through the recession back in '08 or whatnot, but in our days, Director Claude Felter had to endure a very, very challenging time. So I want to say thank you to him if he's not here and he's watching. Thank you for your years of service as Director of Office and Budget and Management.
Much appreciated.
Commissioner Regalado and then Gonzalez.
Thank you. Congratulations, Ray, or condolences. That was my comment to you. When we received the information. I think you're lovely, and I think you'll do a good job. As for what happens in our budgetary process, you know, I've mentioned this a few times in the past. What happens is not surprising. So I think we would save a lot of time and grief if there was more information in the agenda items as to if they line up or not with the budget. You know, unfortunately, the board focuses on certain items, but those aren't the ones that get you. You know, it's not the ones that we pull and necessarily talk about. It's the combination of things over a period of time. So, you know, I do my best, you know, to reach out and find out, you know, is this item within our budgetary line or not, right? Are we overspending or not? I've been talking to staff about the overtime in certain departments. We know that that is always an issue. A lot of the issues that we have are very foreseeable. You know, we talk a lot about, you know, when we get it, when we approve it, how long was it stuck here, how long was it stuck there. But I think if our main focus is going to be a budgetary one, then there should be something signaled on these items when we are going outside of that budgetary line. Because, you know, the way we do our budget here is very different from how I did it at the school board or how we do it at the city of Miami or how we do it at the state, right? They're all very different systems. I think there's been a lot of conversation about the state system in the past and wanting to emulate that. And I'm sure you'll get that comment. I will say what I always say about that. You know, the state doesn't actually run anything. They just fund things and then other people do it. So it's a more complex on our side and on the municipal side and on the school board side than it is on the state side. That being said, I think that, you know, keeping us up to date, maybe agenda by agenda, you know, as to, hey, these 3 items are outside of what was forecasted or what was approved. You know, revenue is down, revenue is up. You know, you're doing that already, but I think that to Commissioner Bermudez's point might make people feel a little bit better about the process, because some of us are asking those questions to staff, but not everyone is, because everyone thinks that the budgetary cycle occurs within the budgetary cycle, right? I think there's some of us that are like, every month we're like, is this in or is this out, right? And we refer back to our budget books. But I think it might be useful to have some sort of reporting mechanism where you're kind of touching in on those items and say, look, you know, revenue here is up, revenue here is down. You know, I think you're already doing that. I think the administration is already doing that. I don't know if that's necessarily being communicated to us in a way that is easily accessible. I know that the clerk of the courts has, you know, created a system, and that's like a whole other system. But us, you know, now going to him for some of that information is a very different thing. So that would just be my suggestion. I know you have a lot of work. I hate to pile on, but I think it would be easier at the end of the day, because, you know, one of the things that's interesting about what happens during our budgetary process is a lot of people get amnesia, you know? So I think if we at least have some...
Commissioner?
documents to refer
Commissioner.
back to, it would be better.
Commissioner.
Thank you.
That's a lot, though. That's a lot. I mean, he can also have a Zoom call with you, a meeting. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Baker, I have the utmost respect and admiration for you, specifically in libraries. We've worked together. You know how much I care about libraries. I think your team is exceptional. I think you've done an exceptional job at libraries. And I think that the level of communication that I've had with you, I mean, we've had conversations about tree lightings at a library and Zumba classes at a library, 8 o'clock at night, because it's going to happen the next day. And I want to make sure that everything is at par for our constituents. You've always answered the phone. You've always been there. And I want to say that publicly.
Thank you.
And the reason I want to say that publicly is because I am disappointed that we're losing you in libraries, but I am very happy to see your caliber of responsibility coming into budgeting. I'm really happy. With that being said, as many of my colleagues have expressed, and I think as Fernando Mendoza hopefully will soon find out, college football is different from the NFL. And those skills are easily transferable with hard work, with being proactive and constant communication. I hope and I pray, I'm rooting for you. I think you're gonna do a great job, but I will not be going easy on you, sir, just because we're friends.
Understood.
Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and congratulations, Director. I certainly echo the sentiments of my colleagues regarding congratulating you and knowing that you're the best person for this role, and I thank the administration for making this appointment. While I recognize the difficulties that are ahead when it comes to budget, I think it speaks volumes of your character for you wanting to step into this role during such a difficult time. There's two types of people in this world, those that run towards problems and those that run away from them. So thank you for stepping up and putting your face in front of what I know and what we all know and agree is going to be a very difficult budget season. I see it as an opportunity for you, and thank you for seizing that opportunity and being the person that's going to help us navigate very, very difficult and challenging waters. So congratulations again, and thank you again for stepping up and stepping into this role. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Congratulations. And I share the sentiment of my colleagues. And Madam Mayor, I think you know as the leader that you are that he will only succeed given the tools that you provide him and that we as the body provide him. So we are sure and we are certain and we are hopeful that you do provide him said tools and said autonomy to be able to fulfill his duties, as I know you will. With that, thank you, Director. Thank you very much. Congratulations and welcome to the NFL. And as you walk away, Commissioner Orbis will say 2 words.
Really quick, Mr. Baker, congratulations. I think from everybody here, I've known you the longest. We go way, way back, so I was very happy to hear that you were stepping into this role. I appreciate, I've always appreciated your passion for public service and for our county and our residents. And I appreciate you being proactive already and meeting with us. So I look forward to working with you. Congratulations and well-deserved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Congratulations. All right, Madam Attorney, can we go ahead and get into first reading items at this time?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item 4A is an ordinance related to the Naranja Lakes Community Redevelopment Agency, repealing Article C, Sections 2-1461 through 2-1470 of the Code, providing severability, inclusion in the Code, and an effective date. 4B is an ordinance granting petition of the Ocean Gate Community Development District to dissolve the Ocean Gate Community Development District, generally bounded on the north by theoretical Southwest 346 Street, theoretical Southwest 2 Street, on the east by Southwest 177 Avenue, South Chrome Avenue, State Road 997, on the south by theoretical Southwest 352 Street, theoretical Southwest 7th Street, and on the west by the Transportation Corridor. Dissolving Ocean Gate Community Development District, releasing declaration of restrictive covenants, and authorizing the mayor or designee to take all action and execute any documents necessary for such release, and providing severability, exclusion from the Code, and an effective date. 4C is an ordinance granting petition of Palm Gate Community Development District, generally bounded as amended on the north by Southwest 340 Street, on the east by Southwest 167 Avenue, Tennessee Road, on the south by Southwest 352 Street, and on the west by Southwest 170 Avenue, amending the boundaries of the district to expand its total acreage by approximately 54.45 acres, providing severability, exclusion from the code, and an effective date. 4D is an ordinance relating to Miami-Dade County Comprehensive Development Master Plan, providing disposition of application number CDMP 2025-13, located plus or minus 200 feet north of Quail Roost Drive, SR 994 Southwest 200 Street, between Southwest 125 Avenue and Southwest 124 Court, filed by Blue Nest Development LLC in the May 2025 cycle, to amend the county's Comprehensive Development Master Plan, providing severability, exclusion from the code, and an effective date. 4E is an ordinance relating to local business taxes, amending sections 8A-179 and 8A-227.5 of the code, repealing requirement to display local business tax receipt, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. And 4G is an ordinance relating to Miami International Airport, MIA, creating an advisory board relating to the consumer experience and operations at MIA, providing for purpose, composition, and duties of the board, and other related matters, providing for severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. Those are your first reading items, and I do have a request to bifurcate item 4A by Commissioner Regalado.
All right, so wait, which are the bifurcated ones? I'm sorry.
I have one 4A.
Okay, by who? Oh, Regalado, okay. And that's it? Any other bifurcations? Seeing none, Commissioner Gilbert moves the remainder of the items, seconded by Commissioner Lopez. Clerk, please call the roll.
The clerk's office has been notified that Commissioner Bastian will be absent from today's meeting. Commissioner Bermudez. Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
4.
Senator Garcia. Commissioner Gilbert. Commissioner Gonzalez.
4.
Commissioner Hardiman. Commissioner Lopez.
Yes.
Commissioner Emiliano Orbis. Commissioner Regalado.
Yes.
Commissioner Steinberg. Vice Chairman McGee.
McGee.
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
Yes.
Motion passes 11-1.
All right, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins moves 4A, seconded by Commissioner Gilbert. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
4.
Senator Garcia. Commissioner Gilbert. Commissioner Gonzalez.
4.
Commissioner Hardiman.
No.
Commissioner Lopez.
Yes.
Commissioner Emiliano Orbis. Commissioner Regalado.
No.
Commissioner Steinberg. Commissioner Bermudez.
I'm going to vote yes for now to move it along.
Vice Chairman McGee.
No.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes 10-2.
All right. Those are first reading items. Now, Madam Attorney, if we can get into public hearing items.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'll read them all. And just for the record, I've received notice that Commissioner Emiliano Orbis wishes to be listed as a co-sponsor to 4G.
Yep, I'm good with that.
5A is a resolution approving the naming of a portion of the underline as the Nikki Spolstra Play Forest for a period of 5 years, renewable through and including December 31, 2040, and its supplement. 5B is an ordinance authorizing issuance from time to time of Miami-Dade County, Florida aviation commercial paper notes in an aggregate principal amount not exceeding $600 million outstanding at any one time for purpose of paying or reimbursing aviation department, together with other available funds and revenue for cost of certain improvements to county's airport facilities pursuant to provisions of amended and restated trust agreement, including section 212A thereof, providing for establishment by subsequent resolution of terms, maturities, interest rates, and other details of such notes, providing for such notes to be payable from the proceeds of aviation revenue bonds authorized and unissued, authorizing and directing the officers, agents, and employees of the county and of the trustee and co-trustee to take all actions required by such notes, the trust agreement, and the provisions of this ordinance, and subsequent resolution for the full, punctual, and complete performance of all the terms, covenants, provisions, and agreements thereunder, providing severability, exclusion from the code, and effective date. 5C is a resolution approving issuance from time to time in multiple series of not exceeding $600 million aggregate principal amount of Miami-Dade County, Florida aviation commercial paper notes and other debt obligations outstanding at any time, approving certain details with respect to the first series of such commercial paper notes to be issued an aggregate principal amount of not exceeding $300 million, delegating determination of final terms of such first series of notes to the mayor or designee. 5D is an ordinance creating and establishing a special taxing district in the county, generally bounded on the north by Southwest 194th Street, on the east by theoretical Southwest 126th Avenue, on the south by theoretical Southwest 194 Terrace, and on the west by Southwest 127 Avenue, known and described as Global Estates Multipurpose Maintenance Special Taxing District, identifying services to be provided, authorizing and directing the mayor designee to cause to be maintained and operated various public improvements, and providing for exclusion from the code and an effective date. 5E is a resolution granting petition to close theoretical Southwest 355 lane from Southwest 189 Avenue West for approximately 623 feet. 5F is a resolution granting petition to close Northeast 6th Place between Northeast 173rd Terrace and Northeast 174th Street, retaining an exclusive water and sewer utility easement right and authorizing mayor designee to execute the easement. 5G is a resolution approving the plat of Eureka Townhouses. 5H is a resolution approving the plat of Bower Park South Phase 2. 5I is a resolution approving the waiver of plat of Build Investment Hub LLC. 5J is a resolution approving the plat of 94th Aero Squadron. 5K is a resolution approving the plat of Princeton Crossings. Those are your public hearing items. I do have a request to bifurcate 5I.
I'll move the rest.
5I. 5I is bifurcated
Second.
by Renee. All right. So Commissioner Regalado moves the remainder of the items, seconded by Commissioner Orbis. These are public hearing items. I have no public speakers signed up to speak, so public hearing is now closed. Only one item has been bifurcated, so clerk, please call the roll on the remainder except for 5I.
Senator Garcia, Commissioner Gilbert, Commissioner Gonzalez, Commissioner Hardeman, Commissioner Lopez, Commissioner Milian Orbis, Commissioner Regalado,
Yes.
Commissioner Steinberg, Commissioner Bermudez, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins,
4.
Vice Chairman McGee, Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right. Commissioner Regalado moves 5.
I was just going to thank Nikki, and then I'll move the other one.
5 ayes, moved
Yes.
by Commissioner Regalado, seconded by Commissioner Orbis. All in favor signify by saying, did you want to speak on it? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Reflect Senator Garcia as a no. Item passes. All right, Madam Attorney, can we move into second reading item? We have one, right?
Yes, I'll read it quickly. 7A is an ordinance relating to zoning in the unincorporated area, amending section 33-28462 of the code, revising downtown Kendall Urban Center zoning district regulations pertaining to amenity stories and penthouse floor plate area for properties with buildings that front certain streets, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date.
Move it.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Regalado, seconded by the Vice Chair. Any discussion on the item? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Gilbert, Commissioner Gilbert, Commissioner Gonzalez,
4.
Commissioner Hardeman, Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Milian Orbis, Commissioner Regalado, Commissioner Steinberg, Commissioner Bermudez, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins,
4.
Senator Garcia, Vice Chairman McGee,
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, sounds good. We are going to get into the fun part, the fun time of this meeting. I'm going to go into the pool list. Was 6A1 was pulled, right? Yep. And
Yes.
6A1 supplement. Okay. All right, so yes, I will go into the pool list then. If I'm done with everything else. Yep. All right, we moved quickly through the agenda, but now it will slow down. All right. Sponsor is the mayor. Commissioner from District 12, you pulled item 2B5, DTPW Fair Report.
Yeah, the only thing on that, and it's just a comment, the bus depot by the Dolphin Mall out there, I saw that the previous report, there had been a impact on the timing of it, and I just wanted to let the administration know that as we go forward, I've had a lot of residents that park there because it's in District 12, but they come from other places, and some live in District 12, like in the Belen area, and a lot of them work downtown. And sometimes they feel that when we cut those, the 836 runs, sometimes it impacts them. So I just want to put that on the radar. I'm fine otherwise, but but that's it.
Would you move the item?
Move the item.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bermudez, seconded by Commissioner Gilbert. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show 2B5 passed. District 6. All right, Commissioner from District 13 on 8F1.
Well, that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this came through our Parks Committee, and I appreciate the conversation that we had. And I just want to make sure if I can call up the director, because we are adding another maintenance cost of $40,000 to our maintenance cost. And in the last budget cycle, we saw that Parks took a big hit in the budget. Can you please identify where the monies are going to come from? And if we are working on creative ways on funding future expansion of parks. Because obviously I would like to see more parks in our district, in our community. So we'll just ask those questions. And pretty simple.
Yes, hi, good morning. Christina White, Director of the Parks, Recreation, and Open Spaces Department. Yes, Senator, so this is a new parkland that we've acquired from a developer who was required to convey this land to us, so it's adding to our portfolio. We're estimating that it will be about $40,000 a year to maintain it. It will come from the Parks General Fund operating budget. So in this case, we will have to absorb the cost of it. I do recognize that there sometimes is a conflict in that where we're continuing to add to our portfolio and we're getting cuts in operating. So certainly open to ideas to work with outside entities who may want to donate time to help us maintain.
Okay, it's just important to come up with new creative ways of finding funding, different funding sources if we're going to continue to add, because again, we have to be careful as we continue this next budget cycle that we know we're going to enter some difficult budget times, and if we continue to add more expense, and then we're going to cut, because usually the first time when we look at cuts, it's usually on the CBO side and in the Parks and Recreation. So I want to make sure that we don't find ourselves in that tough situation. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and move it. Commissioner Orbis, you've done a great job with this, and I appreciate what you're doing. And just to forget, Madam Director, that I'm still waiting on the memo to be answered, the memo on the CIIP funding. So I appreciate that. Looking forward to that that was issued in November. Still waiting for it to be answered. So thank you so much. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, through the
Commissioner
chair.
Orbis?
Yes. Thank you, Senator Garcia, for bringing this up. I agree with you wholeheartedly that we do need to get creative, and I am actively fundraising for this park so that we are able to maintain it and anything that goes in there to offset the cost. I'm actively working on that, so I appreciate it and I agree. I know that parks are all very important to all of us, and I agree that we need to find other creative ways.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
A second, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing the item moved by Senator Garcia and seconded by Commissioner Orbis, all in favor? Aye. All against? Show that the item passes. Next item up, we have 8K3. Commissioner Hardiman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 8K3 is an item that we've seen before. It was deferred last time to tighten up some requests for the board that to the benefit of the constituency that lives in District 3 and will reside at the location. And so at this point, we have an amendment. I believe you all would have received a copy of the floor amendment, but I don't know if it needs to be read into the record, but if it does not, I'll please.
I can summarize it for the record.
And let's do that. And then also just for the record, so the record is clear, that the total contribution is $200,000. and then they're incrementally placed in. I don't want anyone to get the incorrect belief that it's 200 per phase. So it's 200,000 total, 150 plus 50. But please.
Sure. Commissioner Hardeman moves to amend item 8K3 to amend attachment A to the master development agreement between Integra Solution LLC and Miami-Dade County located on pages MDC 072 to MDC 074 to add the following. First, the developers agreeing and acknowledging that they'll make a contribution of a total of $200,000 to FIU for their scholarship program. And it will be split into 3 phases. So for the first phase, they will contribute $100,000 to FIU for the scholarship, which is for students in District 3.
It will create an endowment that will generate scholarships.
Phase 2 will be $50,000 within 30 days after ASPR, and then Phase 3 will be another $50,000 to be dispersed to FIU within 30 days after ASPR. In addition, the developers agreed that the failure to provide this funding to FIU will constitute a default under the Master Development Agreement.
So to be clear, so my motion is to amend and approve the item as amended. That is correct.
All right. It's been moved. It's been seconded by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins. All in favor of the amended item, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Show the item passed.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. 8P1, Commissioner from District 13, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This has to do with the purchase of vehicles and giving the authority to the mayor to purchase these vehicles. I think where I'm a little stuck is that when this came to us originally, there was over 1,000 vehicles that needed to be purchased, well over 1,000. And now all of a sudden, the number has gone down below that. I would like to know what criteria was used to lower the number of vehicles that were to be purchased, I guess. What were the factors that changed?
Through the chair, Namada Upal, our Chief Procurement Officer, will address the commission.
Good morning, through the chair. Senator, we're bringing this item to purchase 999 vehicles for this fiscal year as adopted by the board. The number that you're comparing is for the last fiscal year, and we had a higher number, which the board approved. So this year, when we were preparing the item, the mayor gave the instructions to everybody, please make sure only ask for the needs that are absolutely necessary. So the departments, when they went back and they came out with a total of 999. We didn't come with a higher number, but I think we're comparing it to last year that we have done, departments have done a great job in reducing the number from last year.
What is that criteria that's being used then at that point? Do you have that criteria?
Yes.
Based on mileage, what is the cost?
Absolutely. There is a very, very robust and detailed criteria. Not only the departments have to follow that, but also there's a centralized fleet division under PIOD. They do a thorough vetting, and the way they look at it is, number one, the mileage, the age of the vehicles. What's
the mileage?
100,000 miles. But that doesn't mean if the vehicle is running fine on 100,000, we're not going to replace it. Are the parts available? What is the cost to maintain those vehicles after certain age and certain mileage? So when all of those factors align, that's only when the replacement or the new vehicle is approved. But there's a very thorough vetting process that goes through.
Okay. All right, thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
All right, with that, Senator Garcia is going to move that item. Seconded by Commissioner Gilbert. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay.
Nay.
All right, show the item passed. All right.
One nay vote.
We're going to go up 1 or 2. 8G3, pulled by Commissioner Orbis. Was it just to vote no? 8G3.
I move the item.
Oh, you released it? Okay, so Gilbert moves the item. 8G3, seconded by Commissioner Lopez. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. 8P2, Commissioner from District 13.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this has to do with the grouping, the shelf purchases of products from the different departments. I'm just curious to know, Madam Mayor, if we have looked at what each department is doing. Does the department have a comprehensive list of off-the-shelf products purchased by the departments and done an analysis on the grouping, grouping the use to procure?
Through the chair.
You're recognized, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Senator, for asking those questions, which I have also asked. And we have our new director recently approved by the board, George Olazabal, to answer.
All right, Director.
Morning.
Morning.
So this is the contract that we use to purchase countywide. ITD manages this contract, and we do the purchasing for multiple departments across the county.
Right. The question is, have you looked at it by department? Because we're looking at shelf purchases, right?
Mhm.
Each department is buying them. Have we been able to look and analyze all departments, what they're buying? Because maybe we can procure that as opposed to, because usually the shelf purchase is always more expensive as opposed to group purchases. Have we been able to analyze that?
Yeah, we are purchasing as a group for all of them. Everything is funneled through us, so it's not an individual department purchasing for themselves. ITD manages the contract, and ITD manages the purchasing. So we leverage the economies of scale across the departments to make the purchases themselves.
Okay, fair enough. I'll go ahead and move the item, Mr. Chairman. And
All right, Senator Garcia moves the item. It's seconded by Commissioner Lopez. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show the item passed. AP3 Commissioner of District 13 again.
Thank you. Yes, and it's.
And 9A1 and 11A1.
We got it all. It's just, they're just questions that we'd like to put on the record. Mr. Chairman, this has to do with a contract within the fire department that was procured sole source, I think, in 2022. They're coming before us to ask for another 2-year extension or a year extension for 2027. Obviously, adding a cost to this procurement. Quick question is, why are we doing this, and when would this end? Because this procurement seems to be, coming back for an extension, another extension. I could understand it's an IT, someone being a consultant, but to what end? When will we see the end of this?
So, Senator, great question. Fire department, we engage this consultant to help us put together the RFP, the specs for the system, the CAD system, and not only the single CAD, but also CAD to CAD. And the consultant helps us through the actual RFP process, and now they're helping in the implementation. The moment the implementation is done, we're done with the consultant. Also, fire department only uses the consultant when they need the help in that specific technical implementation. It's not like the consultant is on a retainer basis. If you need information regarding the schedule, Chief Jadala is here about the implementation, but we've never done CAD to CAD, so CAD to CAD implementation. I think the expertise from this consultant is very important for that implementation, so we can coordinate with the municipalities.
And if I may, through the chair, I just want to make sure to introduce you to our new Chief of Public Safety, Arnold Palmer, who is here by my side. Obviously, this is his
Not the tea lemonade.
second week on the...
Great name.
Long story. He can share it with you later, but of course, we have our director here to address.
So, good morning, Ray Jadala, Fire Chief, Miami-Dade Fire Rescue.
Hold on, Chief, 1 second. Do you need the chief to actually go into the scope?
I think if he just could finish, I think he wanted to say some words, and that'll be great.
No, just in regards to the, through the chair, my apologies. Senator, just in regards to the implementation, we are looking with training by the end of this calendar year and the implementation of the CAD by the second quarter of next fiscal year, sir.
Move the item, Mr. Chairman.
All right, it's been moved.
Thank you.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Lopez. All in favor signify by saying aye. All right, item passes. Commissioner from District 13, you're recognized on 9A1.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is on the trees. Oh, actually, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, this is a great program that you're doing, using some of these funds to reforest certain areas in your community, mainly Cutler Bay. Just a quick question on what is the fund balance that is left in this fund, and also where are the revenues coming from? I guess if I can ask the administration about that.
Through the chair, Lauren Para, our Director of DERM.
Lauren, just a quick answer on that quick question.
Of course, through the chair. The balance as of December 31st is $2.8 million.
And the funds come from?
The funds come from chiefly three ways, largely environmental fines, so damage to forest resources, big grants and donations, and mitigation dollars that you can outline in a permitted tree removal.
Move the item, Mr. Chairman.
All right, it's been moved. It's been seconded by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Show item 9A1 passed. 11A1, Commissioner from District 13.
Oh, thank you. Commissioner Gonzalez, great resolution. I know we're looking at directing the mayor to do a report of all of the electric vehicles within, I think, the Department of Transportation, correct? I'm asking to see if it's okay to expand the request to include all electric vehicles that the county has purchased, leased, and not limited to just transportation.
Sorry, through the chair. It's a co-prime from both of us, and my item does include all.
Oh, does it? Okay, I didn't see that in there, so I apologize for that. So if it's in there, that's, where is it in the item?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Gonzalez.
So there was an original item by Commissioner Orbis that encompassed all of them. What I was able to do is I asked for an amendment just to expand that a little bit. So it should encompass all electric vehicles throughout the county. And Mr. Chair, I don't know if you'd like to recognize.
That'll be good.
We good? All right, so you move the item?
Yeah, move it. So it's in there, correct?
All right, it's been moved, it's been seconded. It's been moved by Commissioner Gonzalez, seconded by Senator Garcia. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. All right, 11A6, Commissioner from District 13 on your urging.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, as you have heard me speak about this before, HIV continues to be, Dade County continues to lead the nation in new HIV cases, along with Broward County. Flips back and forth. And unfortunately, minority women, particularly African-American women, Hispanic women, lead in the new HIV diagnosis. Unfortunately, the state of Florida this year has changed the criteria and eligibility for the ADAP funding, which will limit the amount of people that would have access to life-saving drugs. And mind you, some people say, oh, it doesn't affect me, I don't know anyone with HIV and so forth, but with these life-saving drugs, they're not only life-saving drugs. What these drugs do is that it gets people to undetectable status that will prevent them from spreading the virus. So this is a health crisis that we're facing, and to recognize that the state of Florida is now changing the eligibility requirements, I think it's incumbent upon us to urge a legislature to reconsider their position, or the Department of Health to reconsider their position, and to make sure that we maintain the criteria that exist that really protects the public safety in our community and the health of so many people living with HIV and AIDS in Miami-Dade County and across the state. So, Mr. Chairman, what this does, it urges the state of Florida to maintain eligibility, urges the Florida legislature to appropriate funds accurately to our community, and also urges the United States Congress to appropriate additional funds to the Ryan White HIV AIDS program to be allocated to the State Administrative AIDS Drug Assistance Program in light of rising health insurance costs. And Mr. Chairman, I also ask that this will be added to the priorities of our lobbying efforts in Washington, in Tallahassee.
You move the item as such. It's been seconded by Commissioner Steinberg.
May I be added, please, as a
Co-sponsor? All right. And Commissioner Gilbert, the Vice Chair, Lopez, and myself.
Thank you.
And thank you, Senator Garcia, for always being a consistent leader in this space. All right, with that, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Show item 11A6 passed. 14A2, Senator Garcia. Keeping you on your toes.
Just
oh, this is a good one.
I'm just curious to see what happened here. No, listen, I'm just trying to see what is going on. I know this is a late one, and I apologize. This is just trying to get information as to what are we doing and what happened with this.
All right, Director Miller.
Thank you.
Senator? I'm good. How are you?
He wants to know, did you get the question or no?
I think the question was, what are we doing? It was pretty broad.
Yes.
So this is a request for additional resources for our construction engineering and inspection services as it pertains to our Metro Mover Wayside project. The request is for an additional $15.5 million. Those are funded through FTA resources as well as PTP. And this is to continue to ensure that we have CEI services as we continue with this project. This project is behind schedule. We are actively working with the contractor. We are in active arbitration with the contractor regarding certain provisions of the contract and are using all of the contractual provisions to move the project forward. I actually have a meeting this week with their leadership to see if we can move this project along. We have discussed options of a hybrid solution for additional time for the contractor. We're working with them to try to move that hybrid work schedule along as well as other provisions.
And Madam, Mr. Chairman, if I may, and thank you for that explanation. We've seen this before, not at your hands, you know, it just happens because it's county government. We see someone that we enter into contract with to get some work done. For whatever reason, they don't do it. There's delays. We end up come back to a county commission. We change the vendor. We end up coming to the county commission, ask for more money. That means the taxpayers are on the hook for their delay and their mistake. You did mention now that you're working with them, you're in arbitration. But moving forward, what tools do we have at our hands to ensure that when a contractor does not meet their end of the deal, that we can go after them? What recourse do we have instead of always coming back and changing the vendor? What happens at that point? This is why I think it's important to have this dialogue and conversation. And I appreciate, I have a great deal of respect for you. So
thank you.
Please help us understand how we can move forward.
Sure. So we do have liquidated damages associated with this particular contract, and they are being utilized as part of the contract provisions. I do think it's important, and hopefully when we hear from the chairman's procurement task team, that they will have other solutions available to us as well. But I do think it's very important that we analyze fully the provisions of any contract, choose the right contracting method, and meet and ensure that we're adhering to the four corners of a contract. Obviously, this contract occurred before I came to the county. I wasn't involved in its original implementation or its design. But I do think there are provisions that we are working through, and I do think it's important that myself, my team, and the Strategic Procurement Department work together to make sure that we are putting the right provisions in the right type of contract and then adhering to those provisions.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Gilbert, seconded by Senator Garcia. Commissioner Regalado, you're recognized on 14A2.
Oh, don't go away. Don't go away. Come back. Thank you. Obviously, I'm concerned with the timing of it. We could go on and on and on about, when we find out about these things. But I think it is a good opportunity for this board to receive some information on Metro Rail generally. I think how we all have been dealing with the maintenance issues in our own corridors is very different. So, for example, I have pushed out in my district the Metro Rail stations as part of the TODs. So the only Metro Rail station that has not been updated without this, without county money was Dadeland, which was a total reset, right? So that's not something that you could do with a developer. And South Miami, which I'm working on and would be part of the CRA. But I did have some questions for you or for Jimmy about the Metro Rail TIDs and the funding, because I think we have to look at the entire system given its age and have a serious conversation about how are we paying for the stations, how are we, trying our best to ensure that there is TODs in that area, and are those TODs aligning with those stations? On the mover stations, you know, that's kind of happening organically anyway through the RTZ, but there's a lot of other spokes, right? So like the Hialeah part of it, there's parts of the city of Miami, the part that goes to the north. You know, what are the maintenance needs for those stations? And how are we going to capture that? Because I think it's inequitable if a certain part of the Metro Rail pays a TID, you know, gets the TOD, suffers a density, no money from the People's Transportation Fund is going into that station, and then somewhere along the line, there's something that's happening that's very different. So I think at some point we need to talk about this. This is an item that deals with the entire rail and obviously with the procurement. I would say, and I agree with you, we should wait for STRIP, but we may want to seriously consider that if we tie ourselves to a company like we did with this, if we enter into these agreements where we're tethered by technology or by physicality of instrument to a particular company, that the punitive aspect of it is much higher. I think we have to go kind of above and beyond when they do not perform, because we do not have other alternatives, to Commissioner Garcia's point, where we're tied to them. No amount of punitive pay. And at some point, it becomes for them the cost of doing business, right? So we've seen this happen a few more times. So I think we really need to get a little bit more creative when we go sole source, or when we decide on a technology that doesn't provide us with options out, to be very restrictive and punitive on the termination and on the non-compliance. And listen, that's the price they pay for getting so much access, right? They have this tremendous amount of leverage on us. I think we should have some contractual leverage back. But I would like us at some point to circle back on the Metro Rail and what's happening just with the general maintenance. I mean, it was built in the 80s. I mean, for those of us who use it, we know. But we need to get a little bit more thoughtful as to what we're doing with that maintenance and how we're funding that maintenance. Thank you.
All right, with that, we do have a motion. We have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. All right, and on 15C1, I have Commissioner from District 11 and District 12. Commissioner from District 12, you're recognized, or was it just to vote no? Your microphone is off, I believe.
Hold up. I want to talk about it a little bit because we got a report reference to some of the names that are there. I'm gonna vote no anyways, but because I do want to vote no. But the report we got from our auditor, and as I understand it, I don't know if it's a resolution or an ordinance, says that we have to choose the person in that district that has lived there the longest. But there's a problem. And I'm not going to say the person's name, but it's in your packet. One of those individuals, and if you saw the auditor's report, has had numerous run-ins with the law. And they're pretty substantial. They're not like, hey, I got a ticket. So what I want to know, maybe this is something I'd ask the attorneys or the, what can we do when we're in a situation like that?
Well, we cannot.
We can vote. No, I'm going to vote no anyways. But that's not my issue as much as, because I'm not going to get into the individual, even though there's substantial criminal court cases for one of these individuals. You can see it in your report. But my question is, I've been told that, well, the landscape maintenance district has to have a person who's been the longest resident of the people that are nominated for that, or would I put their names in. Well, then if that's the case, and I got a problem with that, I think it should require board approval. If it requires board approval, it shouldn't be just the person who's been the most long-time resident in that district. So that's my situation. If you look at your report, you'll see. I'm not going to mention the gentleman's name because it's in the report, and you can all see it for yourselves and your staff. But I'm going to vote no. But I don't think the attorneys are even listening because it's their birthday. But the problem is, if in fact it says we have to pick the person who's the longest, living resident who's lived there the longest, then we got to do something to fix that. at some point. But I'm voting no, so that's why I.
Commissioner
say
from
my
District
piece.
11, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I will echo some of the sentiments of what Commissioner Bermudez has said. I don't think that this is on any particular person. I think it's more an issue with the process, and I think that the process, if I'm not mistaken, and perhaps the administration can elaborate, but I think the process makes it so that whatever individual has the most tenure or most time is the one that's going to get it. Obviously, I have an issue with a particular nominee, and so I will be voting no as well. But I think that the way that we fix this is by tackling the process. So I would like to put a hold on changing the requirements so that we can eliminate certain individuals, even if they have more tenure. I don't think that this is a particular issue with, you know, that we're trying to sneak somebody in. I just think it's a process issue. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I agree, and I'll recognize you, Commissioner Gilbert, of course, but I think we should probably defer this item indefinitely until we get more clarity on a lot of these questions, because I've got, like, this, I think we share this taxing district, Commissioner Gonzalez and I need more clarity, so I move to defer it until indefinitely, really, until we get more clarity. Seconded by Commissioner Gonzalez. All in favor of the deferral signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. All right, and thank you for bringing that out, Commissioner Bermudez. All right, I pulled 15B1 for a procedural motion, if the attorneys can read that.
Yes, Michael will read it.
The chair moves to amend item 15B1 to indicate that for all public hearings scheduled for committee meetings, such public hearing shall occur at that committee meeting or the monthly meeting of any successor committee as may be determined by the chair.
All right. It's been seconded by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Show that motion passed. All right, Commissioner from District 7, you're recognized on 11A5, the federal legislative package. Commissioner from District 7.
I'm good. I'm actually working on a few things with NACO that I wanted to add to it, but I think it'll take up a little too much bandwidth here. So I'll just bring it as a separate item as an addition.
All right, so with that, Commissioner Gilbert moves the item. It's been seconded by Commissioner Lopez. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. All right, Commissioner from District 7, you're recognized on 11A2, the eminent domain report.
Thank you. Commissioners, this came up with another item. We did easements for transit, and then I told you all that I was a little concerned about the implications of it. I think that with eminent domain in terms of transit, if we're only talking about an easement here or there, you know, I was willing to let that one go. I think this one is a lot more concerning. First, this idea of us having conversations with attorneys that are not in writing, it's still a public record. So the fact that it's oral doesn't make it less of a public record. And I think we should be very careful because we can be deposed on that. And there's a series of other things. We're not in litigation. It's not protected. I can see where what happened at the port could trigger us to have some of these considerations. But I think this is going to have a very chilling effect in terms of folks that are coming to us with projects and that are proposing different things. So I'm a little concerned about the way that it's drafted. It's not specific. It's tremendously broad. It calls into question, you know, is this about the incinerator? Is this about trash locations? Does this include municipalities? I had several of my municipalities call me and ask me about this because it doesn't exclude our municipal partners or other county or other governments. So the school board called me and asked me, are you guys trying to take our properties? The municipalities asked me the same thing. I was the first one to say that we need to take a look at our needs, but I think this goes a little beyond what this board is used to doing. I can't support it. I don't think we should, in good faith. I understand what you're trying to do, but I think there's a better way to do it. I think that we could craft something that's more thoughtful and that allows people access. I think now more than ever, government needs to be more transparent, not less transparent. And this is something that really does concern me in terms of what conversations are going to be happening about people's private property. I mean, what establishes our government as being dramatically different from every other is our belief in private property and our upholding of those rights. When we had these conversations talking about the port, one of the things that we talked about is how eminent domain is not what it used to be. This is not 50 years ago when we could eminent domain something for 2 pennies and make a park. We have to pay market value or above market value. And I think we're sending a very dangerous message to the business community that they are not safe while Miami-Dade County is considering their properties. So I would caution you against it if there's a particular thing that we're interested in, a particular department. Aside from that, I think there should be a discussion about other entities, other governmental entities. I know that we're in negotiations with some about land swaps. And when you start these negotiations and they start providing us with documentations about their valuations of our properties, now they're going to worry if we're going to turn around and start an eminent domain process. So I'm a no on this one. I think it opens a door. It's a very slippery slope. And I think we're going to lose a lot more credibility and not gain opportunities, but actually pay a lot more. Thank you.
Commissioner Gilbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner Regalado, for the sentiment. I understand us always want to be mindful when we're using the extraordinary power of the government to actually take property for government good. But I want to be clear that conversations are not public records. They might not be subject to confidentiality, meaning if someone deposed you, you'd have to answer it, but then that would be subject to the rules of evidence. Conversations are not public records. So I don't want people sitting here listening to us to come away thinking that that's our modus operandi. We don't. So when we dispatch our lawyers to talk to folks, it's because conversations need to happen. If someone wants to depose them and they can find a rule of evidence that doesn't exclude, negotiations, mediations, and anything else, and that's fine. But we're in the business of handling the people's business. And so folks need to be able to have those conversations. And I don't want folks to think that just because if they talk to someone that is subject to sunshine. Chapter 119 is clear, and this is not covered by it. I echo your sentiments on we want to always instill confidence in the business and people generally. We're not going to take their property, and we shouldn't be, and we haven't exercised that authority in that way generally. We haven't done that. And so I have confidence that this board will never do that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, with that, the item is moved.
I got one.
No.
I got one quick question.
Hold on. This is a report, right?
I got it, but I got one quick question because
Commissioner Bermudez.
Listen, there's a thing called the Burt J. Harris Act, okay? So for you non-lawyers, everybody could understand that.
I'm not a lawyer.
Okay, I got you. But it prevents, and I wish the county attorney's office would provide these backgrounds because truthfully, that does prevent from government taking private property. It's been there for a long time, and it's used. So for us to even think that we could do it without having implications is problematic. And I would ask the county attorney's office, when we talk about items like this, to lay it out for everybody. Because that particular law does protect, and it was passed by the state of Florida with the intent to protect private property from governmental entities. So I just want to be clear when we talk about this, if we're going in that direction. I don't disagree with Commissioner Regalado on some of her sentiments. She's, going in the right direction on some of these things, but let's not confuse eminent domain necessarily with the issue of other protections that exist for private property entities in the state.
Commissioner Regalado.
Thank you. And just in response to Commissioner Gilbert's comments, and I appreciate that, I will tell you, at the City of Miami, there is case law regarding the conversations because what happened was, number one, your calendar is a public record. And that there was a meeting and that there was a conversation, to your point, could trigger a deposition. There was also an instance in which several elected officials wrote a memo to themselves, and that the people who were there took some notes, and those were public records. And there was a down a rabbit hole, situation as to what was or what was not discoverable. So that's why I'm saying that if we're going to embark on something like this, it should be more specific. This is a very broad item that covers a tremendous amount of grounds. It does not exempt municipalities. It does not exempt school board. It does not exempt the state of Florida. It is very broad. And that doesn't help us with our relationships. I agree with Commissioner Bermudez. I mean, there's a lot of other legal, issues that get triggered by this, but it's a report, but this is not about the report. This is about what you're asking our county staff to do and then to relay back to us verbally. That's the issue. I think it's very, very broad and could cover a series of things. It doesn't even limit itself to departments. We can go in a million directions on this. And actually, we could even undo things that we've approved. So I can't support it in its current form. And I think that we're making a mistake.
Right. Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, and then for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to my colleagues for the comments on this item. The item is far less complex than it is being articulated to the board, and the impetus for the item is the situation that we found and currently find ourselves in regarding the very critical property and Port Miami, and actions that should have been taken that were not taken. And this item simply prepares us for the future. And the item specifically speaks to critical county infrastructure, not property that we want or property that we ideally would like to acquire someday in the future, but property that is critical county infrastructure, i.e. Port Miami, or any other properties that are similarly situated. I'm assuming that the report is going to come back with none. I'm hoping, because the idea is to prevent a situation similar to the situation that we found ourselves in with Port Miami, and to adequately prepare us as a county to make sure that if situations come like that in the future, that we're financially prepared for it. Because I didn't feel like we were regarding Port Miami. So it is just a report, and the spirit of the item is simply to prepare us for any critical county infrastructure that we may need in order to provide services to our residents. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, seconded by Gonzalez. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Show Regalado as a no. All right, Commissioner from District 13 and 6 on 8G1. Is that just to vote no, I suppose?
Actually, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
On a budget? Okay, yep, you may. You definitely may.
No.
You're not Brian May, but you may.
Got a shout out.
I'm going to be quiet on that one. Although I like Brian May a lot, so I'm not going to.
On most days?
Most days.
Except for days that end with Y?
He's not a bad guy. He's not a bad guy at all. Anyway, Mr. Chairman, on AG1, I just want to commend, Commissioner Bastian is not here, but just want to commend the budget that came back with this, with the CRA was a detailed budget. And I think it's important that when the CRAs present their annual budgets to us, to make sure that they do have a detailed budget, because some of the budgets aren't necessarily detailed. So if I may, would like to make a motion that an ordinance be developed requiring CRAs to provide budgets with detailed revenue and expenditures.
Yeah, I think they do it, but it comes in the form as a financial report, right? Like, or
Yes,
part of the
but-
budget.
But look, what I've seen are not really detailed. So it's just like a little report that comes to us, but these are budgets
Gary?
using taxpayer money.
Point of information.
Yeah, but hold on, because you know it irks me when a commissioner is asking a question and there's blank faces from the. So thank you, Chief, for jumping in.
Through the chair, thank you for that compliment. Our staff worked very hard to ensure that the budget had detail, and we accept the recommendation to have a standard approach to ensuring that all the CRA budgets provide the level of detail that's required for this board to make an informed decision.
Thank you.
Yeah, but point of
Commissioner
information.
Gilbert.
Yeah, I'm not sure though, because CRAs are organized in different ways, And so some CRAs have to come to us to get their budgets approved, but sometimes it's more of a report. I'm not sure it's going to be that simple for everybody. I'm not sure we have a cookie cutter approach because we incorporated, developed CRAs, approved them over a period of time, and the philosophy of the board changed. And so I think that in theory we should want this much detail, but in some respects, our detail is being provided in hindsight, because if you think about it, we've been approving CRA budgets. For some CRAs, we'll approve their budget 4 and 5 years afterwards. So it's a challenge, because we know whatever that budget was, it's really a report of the money that they've already spent. And so you're calling it a budget, but it's actually a report. And so some CRAs are organized in different ways, and I think it's probably more prudent for us to, if we're going to develop CRAs in the future, make them bring the budget to us beforehand, or just decide they're not going to bring the budget beforehand. But we just got to remember that we can't see them all through the same lens, because we actually created them all differently.
Commissioner Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, we all know what happened last year in the legislative process, where the legislature wanted to actually repeal the statute and not have any CRAs across the state. And that was because, and not certain that any of the CRAs in our community were considered bad actors, but there were bad actors across the state that were using CRA money for parades and for things that the legislature said were not in keeping with the statute. And so my only question is, moving forward, whose responsibility is it to make sure so that we don't appear as a bad actor in the future? Because I don't think this issue is going to go away at the state. But I'd like to make sure that we're demonstrating due diligence so that these budgets, whether they're approved thereafter or before, are in keeping with what is allowable of the statute that created CRAs.
All right. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to Commissioner Garcia, to Senator Garcia, are you asking for just a more detailed budgeting of the CRAs, like a more line item type approach to what they're reporting? Because I happen to agree with Commissioner Gilbert that sometimes what we're doing is we are kind of approving what they have already spent, but either way, if they've already spent it, it wouldn't be difficult to give us that level of detail. Is that what you're asking for? I just want to understand.
Mr. Chairman, I think that I understand that all CRAs are not created equally, but when we look at the expenditure of dollars, the revenues, we know where the revenues are coming from, obviously, but when we look at the expenditures, I just think it should be a little more detailed. We should standardize the information that comes to this county commission so we can treat the budgetary process equally as it relates to them. Because at the end of the day, this is taxpayer money. No way to look at it. So it's important for us to be able to standardize it. And when you look at some of the reports that come to us, some have more detailed, others have less. And when we create our own budgets here too, listen, I've been asking for that from this county commission, from our board, from our mayor. Make sure we have a lot more detail as it relates to the budgets that are presented. So yes, I'm asking for a standardization across the board when we look at the budgets of these CRAs.
And so through the chair, if that's what you're asking for, I could get behind that. I mean, I looked at this budget as well, and I do want to commend the administration on the fact that it was very detailed. Would love to see line items and details moving forward with CRAs. But to Commissioner Gilbert's point, perhaps the language there would be for a line item. I don't know if that's where you're trying to go with it, Senator Garcia. I could get behind that, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Yes, I could get behind that too. I have the vice chair and then Regalado, and then Vice Chair Hardiman, then Regalado, because Regalado's going to want to go again after everybody speaks. So
let everyone go first, and then she could finish it off. How about that?
all right. No, I'm gonna go around this way. Steinberg, Vice Chair Regalado, then Hardiman. Steinberg. Yep, this is you.
All right. Commissioner Gilbert did touch on something, though, and while I always think detail is very important and transparency is very important, and I do think that I can tell you for the CRAs, for instance, that I represent, they do put that forward. But would there be would that be opening up renegotiations of all of the different CRA interlocals in order to look? So that could be, this may not be a blanket ordinance that could accomplish potentially. So I would need clarification from either the department or from the county attorney's office, please.
Commissioner Steinberg, you're correct. We would have to look at each of the interlocal agreements that govern the various CRAs that we have to look to see what language governs the approval of the budget. They're not all the same. Some of the community redevelopment agencies or areas have been in place for a number of decades in some cases. And so we could definitely do that, but still create something that would potentially apply prospectively if that's what the board wishes to do.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted that clarification because I do think that could open up a can of worms in terms of renegotiations and other things. So I want to just put that out there. Obviously, I think the sentiment is a good sentiment, and I'd have to see exactly how that comes forward to us. But in terms of prospectively speaking, I think that's a great idea.
Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And that was my question, pretty much, and she answered it right on. So I have no other questions.
Regalado.
Thank you. And I know we're going to talk about CRAs a little bit later also with the report, but I think it's important, and I'm glad that Commissioner Steinberg brought up, what this all triggers, right? But I think it's important for us to note that 15 years ago, Norman Bremen decided to bring legislative change to Tallahassee regarding CRAs, and there was a movement to eliminate CRAs and a radical restructuring of CRAs. In terms of compliance, Commissioner Garcia, it really depends on their staff and their accounting, and that's one of the issues that I have with CRAs is the overstaffing. I'm working on one in South Miami where the administrative charges are capped at 1.5, right? Because I think that is reasonable. If you look at how much CRAs spend on the entity that is the CRA, some of them do a good job, some of them don't. I'm a fan of the Midtown CRA. The Midtown CRA was an infrastructure CRA. There are other CRAs like Omni, for example, that really carried the burden for transportation in that area and that have done other things. Some CRAs have been successful, some have not, but this board has already moved to change all CRAs without renegotiating. We actually passed unanimously an item that required all CRAs to contribute part of their budget to transit. And some of them were doing it and some of them weren't. So there is a way for us by amending the ordinance where we oversee these CRAs to create prospective requirements. And those prospective requirements could be a better accounting. But I think that at the end of the day, we need to look at two groups of them, the larger ones and the smaller ones, the ones that have a lot of staff and the ones that don't have a lot of staff, because the ones that are just effectuating bonds, like the Midtown one, there really isn't a lot to see there, right? They're just paying a debt and moving the CRA forward. So I think that when we have this conversation about CRAs, we need to separate them into different groups. There are smaller ones and larger ones. And then for the larger ones, especially the ones that we have with our municipal partners, they have a tendency to be very on point in terms of, their reporting, because they have to report to them and they have to report to us. So there usually is a lot more reporting there, but that comes with a lot more administrative costs. So just be mindful of that. We can create requirements that can apply across the board, but some of those requirements may cost taxpayer money. So it all depends on how far you want to go there. I think that our better bet is to have a conversation about capping some of these areas, because I think that's where, when you look at the line items, you're seeing some of the abusive behavior or behavior that we may not agree with. I think that some of this stuff has to be curtailed, so that we can determine how much of this money is going to what service that's being provided by that CRA. And I think what we did for transit was a good example of that. And we could do more. We could do housing, we could do roads, we could do infrastructure, we could do all of that if we chose to do so.
Hardiman.
Thank you. There's so much violence on CRAs today. I don't know what's happening. The first time that I met Terrence,
was across the table at a conference, really, with the former county commissioner, him, and a bunch of other lawyers about CRAs, about capping, in fact. My position was that Miami-Dade County had unilaterally capped the revenue that was coming into the Southeast Overtown Parkway CRA, and they also had a sharing agreement that we wanted to be amended. They used that as the tools really to try to limit the growth of that CRA. And fortunately, the county ended up agreeing with us only after, though, we had passed the budget and decided we would just sue them for what we disagreed about. You remember that, right, Terrence? Part of that is the reason why we're able to do the wonderful work that we have right now in our CRA. When you look at the development and you look at that beautiful building, what is it, the Paramount building, and it was said, go University of Miami. Part of the reason that exists is because of the deals that we worked out with that CRA. And so I say that to you just to say this: from the moment that CRAs were born, someone was out to kill the baby.
Talking about babies?
We talk about killing babies.
Choice? Which one is it?
So I'll always say that. And so, when the money comes into the household, in my household, if the money comes into the household, it doesn't matter if my wife spent it or I spent it. It was spent. And it was spent to the benefit of the household. The CRAs were created to ensure that we eradicated slum and blight in your neighborhoods. And so why are you upset that your wife spent the money in a way that they thought was prudent, or she thought was prudent, to make the neighborhood better? Is it better for you as the husband to spend the money in the neighborhood, and that's the only way that we can have diligent spending the funds in Miami-Dade County to eradicate slum and blight? The money is supposed to be spent in a certain way. In regard, though, to how the budgeting works, every CRA has a detailed budget. Every CRA is audited. Every CRA has to get clean opinions. Every CRA goes through some sort of approval. Some of them, yes, have municipal approval, county approval, and then the board approval. Some of them have county approval and the board approval. They're different. Each one is larger than the other. Some have been more effective than others. All those things are true. But what I don't want, and I always caution us when we talk about CRAs, I don't like to talk about boogeyman when we talk about CRAs. There are enough people that are afraid to come in certain areas of Miami-Dade County because they've historically been undervalued, underdeveloped. We have not given the resources that we need. And so finally, and I thank the state, when they birthed this child, we created a way for that to happen, right? This happens to creature of the state. But I do know that every step of the way we have to protect that baby. And I've been to Tallahassee, and I've stood in front of our lawmakers in Tallahassee and spoke in detail about CRAs. And let me tell you something. Not every lawmaker in Tallahassee is made the same. And so I can tell when I'm talking to someone about something that they do not understand, because I understand it. So when we speak to the details of the matter, when someone has not read, is not read, and only uses sort of higher level talking points, it is very obvious. And I want this board to be better than high talking points. I know that we're closer to the ground, right? And so we have to ensure that these dollars go a long way to ensure we have a positive benefit to our communities. But I'm going to tell you something right now. You've heard of the company called MSC? It is an international shipping company. They have a headquarters in Overtown. Not Doral, not downtown, in Overtown, in an affordable housing building in walking distance to this very place. That never existed, ever. And if the CRA didn't beat its chest on that, it's just something that they made happen. But if that was our economic development arm of Miami-Dade County, we would be having parades for the $50,000 that they would have given towards that happening. But we gave a lot more to that. This body did, the CRA body did, and Miami did, to ensure that we had that. That brought jobs, it brought stability, and it brought decent places for people to live. That's spectacular. A CRA made that happen. And so, you know, every step of the way that when we talk about CRAs, it's important that we take the time to talk about them in very sort of nuclear, minute, distinguished parts. We have to take the time. We cannot allow our speech to become sort of one talk over all, because I can tell you that there are places throughout the state that probably don't deserve CRAs, right? They're not as effective. They won't build what we build. In the state of Florida, you might say, well, we need more affordable housing. If you go to build 100 units, 10 floors each in another county, they'll look at you like, what are you building? We don't build like that here. But in Miami-Dade County, we can. And so we just got to be very careful about that. And so I know that you all are very learned, thoughtful people. I just sometimes want to remind us that, when we start talking about budgets, we get a little touchy. And that's one of my touch points. So that's my baby. I won't allow anyone to hurt my baby without a major fight. And if you hurt my baby, I got some other people behind me that's going to also fight for that baby. So I'm not the only person you're going to have to run through. We understand? Good. Thank you.
I don't know who you're talking to, but that sounds like a threat, though. I don't know. And I got so much to say. Because, I mean, like yourself, I am also very fortunate to have a very fiscally responsible wife at home. But I got some buddies, though. Their wives are not that conservative. And when they spend that money, it doesn't go to the right places. It doesn't benefit the household. It benefits just the wife, or it benefits certain people, but not the entire household. There's so much more on your analogy, but
this
I do
is
understand.
such a patriarchal conversation.
I do understand what you're going with.
This is such a patriarchal conversation. I'm not coming with the
Commissioner Bermudez. Commissioner Bermudez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm glad you brought that up. It's not just sometimes about, depends on who the wife or husband are. But I just want to say one thing, and I certainly understand Commissioner Hardiman's point of view, and in part agree with him on it. Having said that, I want to go to what Commissioner Lopez said, and that's the reality of this county, okay, and state law. And the fact is, for a long time, and I'm not going to talk about anybody in particular, from the administration to any of us, we have to set the standard, okay? And if we don't set standards, period, and by the way, it might be, as Commissioner Gilbert said and Commissioner Hardiman pointed out, there are different CRAs. One may be different than the other. But there has to be a standard. And if we are going to actually dispute that the standard should be transparency and being open, then we got a problem. Because, in anything in life, and I don't want to echo Mario Cristobal, even though I will, you can change things if you set a standard. And the reason I ran for office was to make sure those standards are the best that the residents of Dade County deserve. So in the end, and I know we've had controversial CRA votes, we'll probably have some more in the future, but the standard is what we have to keep. And Commissioner Lopez is 100% correct. I don't want to give anybody, because we're responsible for it, by the way. In this county, we're responsible for it. Maybe not in northern Florida or other parts of the state, but here we are responsible for it. And the question I'm going to get, even if the CRA is not in my district, is what the heck happened to the standards? What are you doing with taxpayer dollars? And I think that in the long run, we should never, ever be afraid of setting the right standard. So there's a lot of discussion for another day, but the only thing I will say is standards that we are responsible for, which we are responsible for in this case, this august body of 13 individuals. And I agree with Commissioner Hardiman that I think everybody certainly understands this issue. We need to be clear that there are things happening in Tallahassee, and they're looking at us. Yeah, you can say it. I mean, some of you guys got them on speed dial. They're looking at us. Let's not give them a reason not to set a standard. Because guess what? Even if they don't want us to have a standard, we're going to take the hit. Not somebody else. They're in Tallahassee. We're going to take the hit, and I don't want to take that hit. So just like my colleague to the left says that's his baby, well, this is one of my kids that could impact me, and I don't want, the step daddy in Tallahassee to then say, it's Bermudez's fault. So let's set standards.
All right, we got Gilbert, and then I think you originally pulled it, right? We got Gilbert.
Yeah, Senator, thank you all for bringing this up. I think that this conversation is mutated strangely into, I think, the report.
This is just the budget.
Yeah, this is just the budget. So
we take a vote, and then you all
the
get
budget is fine. The conversation mutated to let's actually have this level of detail and everything, to actually questioning how they spend money. And so we've conflated those things into two things. And I just want to be clear, they aren't.
So the next
they aren't two things. The second thing I point out is that they have the same standard. They're actually more restricted in how they spend money than we do. But everyone in the state of Florida has a standard. They have to spend money for a valid public purpose. That is the standard. So if that's what their budget has to be captured by that. But the challenge is that when and I'll use the state of Florida as an example. When we do the exact same things that the state of Florida does, they say we're being fiscally irresponsible. When they do the same things that we do, we say they're being fiscally irresponsible. It always looks different when you're doing it. It's the lesson. So as we go down this road of CRAs, let's go down it with some authenticity, always ensuring the standard and transparency. I agree with that. People ought to be able to see where the money is spent, where it's going to be spent. But understanding that we're not necessarily putting ourselves in their position about what's valid for that area to remediate slum and blight, because the reason why CRAs has typically existed in the areas that they do is because the Board of County Commissioners didn't actually do that well enough. So we delegated, and we have to look at it through the standard that is our standard, a valid public purpose. That is why we expend dollars. That's it. We need to have as many transparency conversations and mechanisms in place. And yes, I agree with Commissioner Regalado that we can compel certain things going forward. We have to be mindful, though, that these CRAs do have contractual obligations, and we wouldn't want to put ourselves or themselves in the position of enacting something that impeded a contractual obligation or in their bonding requirements. So we want to be mindful about how broadly we do requirements on their spending. But there are things we can do if we're willing to have honest, transparent, and authentic conversations about it.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I know that we've expanded the conversation as Commissioner Gilbert has rightfully stated, but I'm happy we're having this conversation. I'm happy we're having this conversation because I, for one, I am a fan of CRAs when they're done correctly. I am a big fan. As a matter of fact, I was just in Tallahassee a few weeks ago. There's a specific place very close to the Florida State University called College Town. I don't know if you folks have been around there, but many years ago, College Town was not a very nice place. It was a place where you probably didn't want to go and didn't want to leave your car unattended. Now, it is absolutely remarkable. It's amazing what has happened with the proper stewardship of tax dollars that stay in a community so that that community can thrive. I could point to Overtown in Miami and many great things that have happened because of the way that certain CRAs are run and because we're able to keep, some of those investment dollars in the community. So I am a fan of that. I am not opposed, though, and I want to thank Senator Garcia for bringing this up. I'm not opposed to transparency because, as Commissioner Bermudez properly stated, I think that through transparency and by just giving out all the information, opening the books and showing, hey, look, this is what these tax dollars and the proper stewardship of these funds is doing for the community, I think that that is the greatest weapon to use against anybody that would try to shut these CRAs down. So I am not opposed to more transparency with the way that these budgets are reported. And I'm also not opposed to helping to create more CRAs throughout, because I have seen the fruits of proper CRAs. I have seen the fruits of a community dictating and stewarding these dollars so that they stay in the community and make a community that otherwise probably would not have the ability to thrive. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Garcia.
If I may, and for the record, I did frequent College Town before College Town was College Town. I'm not going to tell you the places I went to, but there was a lot of fun.
Oh, I've heard stories.
I've
heard stories.
It was a good time. But anyway, that's a perfect example of what can happen. Look, I have changed my position on, I've evolved my position, I guess, right? On CRAs, when I first started, I was totally against them, but I see what they've been able to accomplish in our communities, especially when the county lacks in investment and going in, because we have a big, we do have a big county, and some of our communities do get left behind. So I recognize the importance of them. I also recognize the importance of standardizing some of these budgets. Yes, just because it may be difficult, because it's a difficult process, because we have to go back in and look and see, but I think we should be able to compare apples to apples, oranges to oranges. And when we look at budgets, numbers are numbers. It's not speaking another language. It's not French and English. It's numbers are numbers, and we should be able to see where these taxpayer dollars are actually going. So the reason I pull this item is to show what AG1 has been able to do with that budget. And maybe, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I didn't make a motion, but maybe I could amend the motion to look at the process of how best to standardize what is these budgets. I think it's simple to come back to us and see if the county attorney's office can look at a process that we can standardize, or what that process will look like. So I don't want to belabor this point anymore, but I think it's important for us to try to see if we could, and that brings some transparency to the item.
All right, so you'll move the item as amended, seconded by Commissioner Gonzalez. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show the item passed as amended.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Madam.
Through the chair. We'd be happy to go ahead and work with Senator Garcia on preparing an item for him. So we'll take that as a directive, and AG1 can proceed without amendment if that's okay with the board.
Well, yes, this one was amended to create the standard.
We'll work.
Yeah, so
You want it? Oh.
Yeah.
She said it separately.
I know. Yes, we got it. Yes. Madam Attorney. All right. On a lighter note, before we go into the CRA report, that's going to be very quick because we just discussed it. I'm going to pull up 14A1, which is my item, just recognizing and congratulating our local champion, Mendoza, for winning the championship. So I hope you all support.
Who lives in District 7?
I mean, he's really not even living in Dade County right now, but yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, went to Columbus, spent more time at Columbus, which is in District 10, but I catch your drift. Anyway,
Mr. Chair, if I may,
congratulations to Indiana, of course, for winning. And
Mr. Chair, if I may, where did that young gentleman go to school?
District 10, Columbus. Christopher Columbus. Adelante.
We all know.
All right. All right. All right, your co-sponsor, it's been moved, it's been seconded. We all love it. We all congratulate him and say thank you from Miami-Dade County and its 2.9 million residents. And we all co-sponsor it, including Oliver Gilbert and his stank face.
I did not.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. He co-sponsored. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show us officially congratulating and recognizing our local champion, Mendoza. All right. To be 11, the CRA report. Madam Mayor, would you like to lead off? And you've now heard all of the remarks on the prior CRA budget item. So I'm sure we will have some more debate, but it will be much shorter than anticipated, given that we've all aired our...
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that was a very helpful conversation. I really appreciated listening to everybody and their points. So I just wanted to say this was a report that was prepared at the direction of our Senator Rene Garcia. And so we provided the background and history on our CRAs here in Miami-Dade County. As we've said already, and as you all know, we're heading into a budget cycle with real uncertainty. I think Commissioner Gilbert said might be more difficult than this past year's, and I agree with that. We certainly are facing headwinds about our property tax revenues and other future revenues. So given that, and as mayor, it's my responsibility to signal where we should be cautious with our operational needs. I am a strong CRA proponent since their creation, and as commissioner, I work to strengthen the legislation to assure community benefits and accountability. I hear a lot of interest in making additional changes. So this report proposes a temporary pause on expansions until we can assess the impact of decisions in the Florida legislature. And you have a full report with the background before you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. Commissioner from District 13, you're recognized again.
So, Mr. Chairman, I think we've had the conversation on the CRAs, and I thank the mayor for this report. If we do move forward, I would like to amend the section of the code to limit future CRAs and any amendments, extensions, expansion to concrete, tangible deliverables for infrastructure tied to county priorities such as affordable housing, transportation, water, and sewer. That's just for the future moving forward. That's the amendment that I would have.
All right.
For clarification.
Or motion that I would have, sorry. For future,
All right. Can you just repeat? Because I was...
Yes, for future CRAs, as we move forward, to make sure that they fall in line with our county priorities that have tangible deliverables for infrastructures tied to the county's priorities such as affordable housing, transportation, water, and sewer.
Okay, this is a
Chair?
motion, though.
This is the motion.
Got it.
There's two
Okay.
different things. Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Okay, so we'll get to the motion. Let's get to the motion in just a minute. But yes, I will recognize you for a motion. Let me continue here. District 12, you're recognized as a polling commissioner.
Yeah, I think we're more or less understanding what we want to do with this. But as far as this is, another thing I don't like is changing the rules in the middle of the game, like an ACC referee. Okay? This is a problem. All right.
Point of order.
So I have a motion that we'll get into in a second, but I would like to, whoever's in the pipeline right now, okay, and whoever's already there, obviously, but who's ever in the pipeline should be considered. Anything moving forward, I'd like to, I don't have a problem with the moratorium because we got to talk about CRAs, but there are a number of there's one from the city of Miami, the Alapata CRA, city of South Miami. There's an Naranja Lakes too, and Northwest 7th Avenue corridor, Northwest 79th Street corridor. So I think whoever's in the pipeline should be given due consideration. That's what my motion's going to be when we get to all the motions. I'll defer to you, Mr. Chair, how you want to deal with this. But that's essentially my point, which is let's not change the rules in the middle of the game for the people that have already started the process.
Sure. And I will recognize you in a second for a motion. I don't know, I will say though, Commissioner Bermudez, I don't know that I can support that motion just blindly, right? I think, and I agree with the concept. If you're already in the pipeline, the rules of the game shouldn't change halfway in the game. So I agree with that in theory, in concept. But we kind of need to look at each one, like, because then, not just yourself, but you and all of our colleagues are the ones here screaming and moaning when the budget comes, and so we have to kind of look at it.
I'm not saying approve them, Mr. Chair. Excuse me. I'm not saying approve them. I'm just saying let them go through the process.
Oh, well, I think yes. I think, well, first of all, the report, from my understanding, this is a mayoral report, but we're not actually, by approving the report today, we're not actually adopting the recommendation of the moratorium. That'll have to be a separate item or motion. That would be the specific motion, but not by adopting the report itself. So I'll recognize motions. Anyone else on the report? Okay, Commissioner Hardiman.
Well, first of all, I appreciate what you said on the record. It doesn't mean I agree in total with what this report says, but we do realize that today is the 21st of January. This report is dated the 21st of January, and I think we just had a conversation about violence and CRAs and babies. You remember that? This is one of those things, right? And so I know it's such easy low-hanging fruit to just say blame the CRAs if you don't have any money, but I can show you a myriad of places where we've wasted, spent, mismanaged, people have been arrested for dollars in Miami-Dade County that can be used towards the budget. And so at a moment like this, I just think that we accept this report, give everybody an opportunity to look at it, give our CRAs an opportunity to look at it. Maybe they can have an opportunity to talk to the mayor, right? But when you impose a moratorium means a complete halt, stop. So if you want change to happen in your CRAs, or if you think that there's more that CRAs can do, it won't happen with the moratorium. And I want to remind you all that CRAs have a finite time of existence. So maybe a CRA just got the money over the last 5 years to do something positive, and then you impose a moratorium on how they continue to generate funding to go towards what it is that they're trying to do in those neighborhoods. And so it is problematic. That's why I appreciate what you wrote about the CRAs that have already applied. But CRAs are not just waking up every day saying, you know what, I think I want to expand my space, and I want you to give me more money, without it being a difficult, knowing it's a difficult conversation to have, because there's a lot of there's a lot of opposition to CRAs. And so we asked for this. We received it. I think we should thank the mayor for having it. She's doing what she believes is the right thing. This is her recommendation, but as this board and as trustees really of Miami-Dade County, and to ensure that our county moves forward, I think we should take the time to digest this, to study this, to actually have an opportunity to rebut it in certain points. That would be, I think, a fair thing for your colleagues to be able to be able to chew on for a while. Thank you.
Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it's interesting how, looking at these reports, especially this one here, this memorandum from the administration, and yes, it's dated January 21st, that discusses CRAs and the budget. I'm not quite sure if reading these numbers can really give us a clear picture of an impact to a budget. And let me back up and repeat that, because it is my understanding that the redevelopment of a community drives the projections of these numbers that are found within this report. And if that is the case or not, I will ask the county attorney or the administration to opine on whether or not the numbers that are projected within this report are based on a proposed redevelopment plan that's put forth by each of the CREs.
Through the chair, thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. George Fernandez, our Deputy OMB Director, has oversight for the CRA program, so he can respond.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board of County Commissioners. Commissioner, to your point, the numbers in this document simply represent the county's contribution to these CRAs, both past and then what we consider in the future.
Mr. Chairman? Thank you. But so I get that, but I'm trying to delve deeper into this. As it relates to the budget, we heard earlier that we're looking at difficult times ahead. We get that. But as it relates to the overall number here within this memorandum, what did you use to make these projections? Is it the redevelopment plan of each CRA that was submitted? That's how you arrived to this proposed number?
No, Commissioner. The numbers, and I'm specifically speaking to the numbers on page 6 on the report. I don't know if those are the same numbers you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
As I stated before, these are just simply projections, and the bottom of the page shows projections from 26, 27 forward. And what we use to project that is what we have in our 5-year plan for the county.
Right.
So it's not based on any redevelopment plan or anything the CRA is doing. The CRA, obviously, as you know, does create other revenues, but it wouldn't be included in these numbers here.
Got it. So as it relates to page 6, exactly the one you just discussed, at the bottom, we're looking at the projections from 25 to 31, right? And then we're looking at the TIF payments from 2020 to 2025 at the very top, correct?
Yes, sir.
So the difference between the two, you're saying, are all based on projections, but I'm asking you, when you say projections, what are you using to create your projections?
So to create these payments that the county will make to the CRA trust funds, we use what we project growth in the countywide general fund. So for example, if we think the tax roll is going to grow 6 or 7%, that's what we use to move forward with the CRA payments as well.
Got it. I'll come back. I just want to.
All right, we have District 4, 1, and 7.
Thank you. So just to back up, I guess, just to get clarification, accepting this report does not in fact start a moratorium. That would be a separate item.
That is correct.
Okay. So yes, I'm fine accepting the report today, and as Commissioner Hardman said, do our due diligence and take a look closer. I do have concerns. Actually, I appreciate Commissioner Bermudez's motion, but I'm not ready today to vote on any moratorium. And so if that conversation does come forward, I do hope that, you're signaling me, but I do hope that they do take into account those that are in process. But today, just so you know, I'm not ready to vote on a moratorium since I don't think we're at that level. But I do think it's interesting on the motion that Commissioner or Senator Garcia made, that perspective, which is contrary because this is not, moratoriums. Like if we were to create new CRAs in the future or expand CRAs, I have no problem in making sure that those new prospective CRAs do have our guiding principles of making sure that we have those fundamentals that you discussed, which is, making sure we have the infrastructure and affordable housing and those things that some of the prior CRAs may not contemplate, but should be a mission that they aspire to. So those are the three things in front of us. So for me, so you know, fine, I'll accept the report because it doesn't actually bind us and we can do our due diligence. No, I will not be supporting a moratorium today, but if you ever have that discussion, you definitely want to make sure you don't hurt those who have been in process. And yes, I'm open to the perspective of putting that forward if you bring a future item. Thank you.
Commissioner from District 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I guess a question through the chair to George. What's the sunset year for Miami Garden CRA?
Morning, Commissioner. I do have that number if you give me a second.
And I only ask because there's one chart, I'm probably misreading it. You can tell me if I am. I won't take offense to it. On one spot it says 2042, and the other it says 2039.
We have 2042.
Okay, so then the CRA projected TIF payments that's on the bottom of page says 2039. That should probably be corrected then.
Absolutely, Commissioner.
On the report, I have no problem accepting the report. I'm not in a position to vote on a moratorium right now, but I'm not necessarily against a moratorium, and I'm resistant to the argument that I'm resistant to the argument that if something's in the pipeline, we have to allow it to go through the same way. If we were doing something wrong and we acknowledge that we were doing something wrong, should we just continue it? I mean, I don't know that I'm for it, but I'm willing to listen to it. So I think CRAs are important. I think the work that they do are important. And I think sometimes we get into that habit of characterizing the broader work of CRAs by the one or two instances where we disagree with them. And I want us to not do that because, and I'll remind you just of Miami Garden CRA, which is a limited use CRA to develop a performing arts center in the North Dade area. The reason why we're partnering with Miami Gardens, and we did this when I was the mayor of Miami Gardens, we just use it for that, to develop, build, operate that. It's because the county didn't do anything like that in that area ever. Like they never did it. And so I think when the chairman says that we need to look at things individually on a case-by-case basis, I think that's an example, because if we had a moratorium, it would prevent CRAs like that from occurring and being created. And I just fundamentally disagree with that, because we're trying to remedy slum and blight. And so I think if we're going to be remedial, it might require us to do some things differently, which means that we couldn't just say, well, this is what we did for everybody else in the past, so this is what we're going to do for you. We on this board sit and look at some of the decisions that prior commissions have made and think they're absolutely ridiculous. I can just start going down the list. Before we took the board, they gave away hundreds of millions of dollars in property that we wouldn't have done. Okay, we think that's ridiculous. Yeah. So we all the time look back on decisions that prior commissions have made and say, hey, we don't want to do it that way. I would not limit us in this instance. And that will be my only observation. I'm not prepared to vote on a moratorium today, because I need to be able to digest this, and I want to be able us to talk more about it, quite frankly, and how that would look. But what I am unwilling to do is sacrifice the work that's happening in those communities. And that's not just because I live in one of those communities, but it's because the county had a habit of centralizing their efforts. And so the West, the North, the South, because that's where the suburbs were and expanded, we didn't get a lot of the stuff that was in the centralized area. And so now when we try to remediate the absence of those things, I think it'd be awful if we said we weren't going to use general funds to do that.
Commissioner from District 7.
Thank you. I think it's important for everyone to consider some of the information in the report. I think the report needs more information, honestly, but I'm glad that at a minimum it does have the contributions that some of these CRAs make to the general fund. Because it's interesting, to Commissioner Hardeman's point, whenever we talk about this, we don't talk about that some of them contribute 25% back to the general fund. We don't talk about how some of them contribute to the SMART plan. Not all of them do, but some of them do. And that's to my earlier point about you can make these rules and standardize that point. I think that that's important, because to say as a blanket statement that CRAs are taking from the general fund, that's not true. Some of them contribute back, and some of them are investing in infrastructure that it is the county's responsibility to do. So the CRA that I'm working on in South Miami does just that. It is an infrastructure CRA. The Midtown CRA is an infrastructure CRA. So Commissioner Garcia, while I appreciate your motion, I can't support that, because I don't want my CRA in South Miami to do housing. It needs to do infrastructure. It needs to do water and sewer infrastructure. It needs to do stormwater. It needs to do roads and sidewalks, because that's what that area needs. And I think that that's important. To Commissioner Gilbert's point, every single one of these entities is different, because every single one of these needs is different. So we can't just blanket say that everyone is going to do A, B, and C. And I think that when we look at these numbers again, and I'm not supporting a moratorium at this moment, and I would support taking out those of us that have been working on these CRAs, because we're being punished for not rushing through a product that is half-baked. Right? So if you want us to just rush it, jam it through, I mean, we can do that. But the fact that we're taking our time to produce something that's thoughtful shouldn't be punished by this board. But that being said, I think it's important to consider the economic impact of these vehicles. The state created them to create economic growth and opportunity. And some of them have done an amazing job. So to say that we're just going to look at what they're taking from a property value perspective is myopic. Some of them have created amazing opportunities. Some of them have built buildings where buildings did not exist, and have created taxing revenue that did not exist but for those investments. Without many of the CRA subsidies in the city of Miami, the buildings that are now paying in part to the county, property taxes just simply would not exist. That's a reality. That was vacant land for decades until the CRA came and provided an incentive to build there, an incentive that we do not provide. So it's myopic. If we're going to look at the return on investment, then let's take a serious look on the return on investment. CRA by CRA, decision by decision, have they been effective or not? And I think some of them are purely infrastructure, and that's great. The Midtown one, South Miami one, I think those are a separate conversation. And while it is true that in certain areas of Miami-Dade County did not invest in certain cultural institutions, in certain things, as Commissioner Gilbert mentioned, I will say for the central part of this county, for 20 decades, our infrastructure money was siphoned and taken somewhere else. Our roads were not fixed, our infrastructure was not updated, and we bore the density without the infrastructure investment. And now we're paying the price for that. We have pipes that are 6 years old, pump stations that are 50 years old, and they are in constant need of repair. So, if we're going to get into the inequities, let's also talk about what happened throughout the years as money was taken from one area to another area in order to build those roads, in order to build those sidewalks, and in order to build that water and sewer infrastructure. So I think it's a good start, this report, but it needs a lot more information on the economic impact, what these CRAs have actually done. The Midtown one, the little blurb on the Midtown doesn't do it any justice. The infrastructure that was part of that project was great. And if this is about contributing back to the county coffers, if that's what this conversation is about, to Commissioner Hardiman's point, right? If that's what this is about, then let's have that conversation and say, some of them contribute, some of them don't. The ones that don't, why is that? The ones that are contributing to the SMART plan, fantastic, but we also passed an item saying that everyone has to contribute to transit. So what does that look like, and does that change that requirement so that the other ones have to contribute in another form? I think that's a conversation that we should be having, and not forcing every CRA to do a laundry list of things that may or may not fit that neighborhood or the needs of that neighborhood. Thank you.
Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. County Attorney Terrence, let me ask you, aren't there a list out there that talks about the limitations as to how to spend and where to spend CRE dollars as we speak?
It's located in the statute. So the statute was amended to limit the where the CRAs and what they could spend on. So where they could spend it and what they could spend it on. So it used to be, as Commissioner Lopez said, there were CRAs that paid for parades, stuff like that, and then the Florida legislature reeled them in and said, no, you can only spend it on X, Y, and Z.
Can you run some of those down for
Sure.
us really quickly,
If
Terrence?
you give me one moment, I'll pull it up.
And while he's pulling that up, Mr. Chairman, the reason why I brought that up is because, there's no secret that for a while that the South has always been the stepchild to the entire county. And we also know that in the South, we just are not on the same footing as those areas, geographical areas up in the North and the West, and particularly in the East. So when we're looking at the CRE's movement and the CRE's contributions, we're saying, especially when we're talking about projections based on a redevelopment plan, if the CRA doesn't do it, particularly in the South, the county has already shown that it's not going to do it based on prior behaviors. And so when you're looking at and analyzing what's happening, particularly with the CREs, I know the one in Perrine and the one in Orlando that I share with Commissioner from District 8, is that there has been instances, or there have been instances where we have seen what happens when the CRA steps in and move like a rocket. Buildings are built, buildings are funded, but more than anything, pride is now had in those particular communities. And make no mistake about it, we're not asking to make the South look like other areas that have high-rise buildings and great infrastructures and huge cultural arts centers. But we're simply saying, if our CRAs aren't allowed to create those type of environments, history has shown that the county will not do it. So that's why we are saying publicly, especially within the area, particularly I live in one of the CRAs, is that they want to be part of the growth of this county too. So the redevelopment plan in those areas are very important for us, because what those redevelopment plans show us is a roadmap of how to at least get on equal footing with other CRAs within the county. So Terrence, you do have those?
Yes, there are 9 categories that they could spend their money on, and it's located in section 163.387 of the Florida statute. The first one is administrative and overhead expenses. The second is expenses of redevelopment planning, surveys, and financial analysis. Third one is the acquisition of real property in the redevelopment area. Fourth is the clearance and preparation of any redevelopment area for redevelopment and relocation of site occupants within or outside of the CRA. 5 is the repayment of principal and interest or any redemption premium or loans, advances, bonds that are related to their indebtedness. The 6th one is all expenses incidental to or connected with the issuance, sale, redemption, retirement, or purchase of bonds. The 7th is the development of affordable housing within the CRA. 8th is the development of community policing innovations, which are, by the way, subject to this board's approval. And number 9 is the expenses that are necessary to exercise the powers that are granted under certain sections of Chapter 163.
Thank you, Terrence. And so, colleagues, this is what I'm talking about. The limitations are already set forth in the statute, and it's not as if these CREs are just running rogue. They're bound by those subsets that were listed by the county attorney, and they're which are found within the state statute. So those are just my comments for the record, and just simply saying at the end of the day, if the CRA is not doing the redevelopment in those areas that have been deemed slum and blight by a study and justified and signed off on in a finding of necessity, then again, I don't know who else or what else would go in and redevelop these areas. And when we're speaking of this idea of we're taking money from the county's budget, I just think that is not an accurate picture to paint, because at the end of the day, the county still gets its base real estate taxes. Those go into the pot. Those go into the general fund. You're still getting those taxes. The increment that's above the base now goes back to that particular area and targeting that particular area to redevelop it, so that those funds can now do what that board actually asked it to do. So basically, again, while we're hearing that the county is going to lose money because of a budget shortfall or perceived budget shortfall, be mindful that these funds are staying within the community that's actually creating the opportunity for the increment to even exist. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, with that, on the report, I have a motion by Commissioner Gilbert to move the report, a second by Commissioner Lopez. All in favor of approving the report, signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show the report approved. Is Senator Garcia in the chamber? Is Senator Garcia in the chamber?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner
before,
Gonzalez.
before Senator Garcia comes back, if I could take a quick point of personal privilege.
You may. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And in light of your resolution for 14A1, I'd like to make a motion for a resolution, and I'd love to see if Commissioner Gilbert Hove would co-sponsor this with me. I'd like to make a resolution to congratulate the University of Miami as well for a tremendous season, because in true Miami fashion and grit, people counted us out. They said the Canes shouldn't be there, and they played to the very last down, and they had an amazing season. I think this is just the beginning.
As the only
So why are
season
you only
ticket
asking
holder for
Gilbert
the
to
Canes, I want to co-sponsor it too.
He was a
Let me
little
say it again,
butthurt
the
at
only season ticket
14A1,
holder
so I
for the
want to throw him.
Not
All right.
counting Commissioner
I'll
Hardiman.
sponsor. I'll co-sponsor that as well. All right. I'll move to recognize the.
I might be the only. I might be the sponsor already, but you know, because I'm a real king. So you know.
There you go.
How many
All right.
Canes do we have up here?
Can we list?
I'm a Cane.
All right, Senator Garcia. At least you. Never mind.
Can we list Commissioner Hardiman as a co-prime?
Everybody.
But you're gonna skip me after you saw me at the game and almost got you in trouble with an Indiana fan? Come on,
That's
man.
true. That's true. Let me tell you, nobody
commissioner was-
screams at coaches more than Commissioner Bermudez.
All right, Senator Garcia. Senator Garcia over here? Yeah.
Yes.
All right, we've moved on from the Canes. We've recognized them, congratulated them, and made a motion and all the good stuff. You saw and co-sponsored by those that want. And
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
By everybody.
So wait, but
Attorney has a motion.
do you still have a motion? I mean, you kind of.
Yes, let's see if we could hear this motion. We'll go from there.
Okay, sure.
Senator Garcia's motion is to establish a policy that CRAs shall provide concrete, tangible deliverables for infrastructure tied to county priorities, such as affordable housing, transportation, and water and sewer infrastructure, and to have that apply prospectively to new CRAs and to any proposed amendments to plans, extensions, or expansions of area.
Okay, all right, so this is a different motion. All right, so it's been moved by Senator Garcia,
I have a
seconded.
question. I have a question.
All right, do we have a second on it, or? Because, all right, second for this, because if you don't second it, there may not be discussion. No, I'm just messing with you, all right? So we have a motion, we have a second.
Members, and
Commissioner Steinberg.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, as
Yes,
part of
you wanna
the
explain it? Go
motion,
ahead.
this is still going to come back to us. This is having a policy created that will come back to us for a vote. So this is not the ultimate passage of this new policy. So this is why I'm trying to be clear about that.
Right, okay, that was my clarification. I'm fine, like I said, theoretically, I need to see what it actually looks like and take into account that not all areas are created equally and some needs may be different in some areas, so I don't know that I want to make it like, I would have to see the legislation, so I don't mind if he wants to direct the administration to come back with something. I think that's fine.
Hold on, I got it. Sorry, Commissioner, you're right, but everybody just hold on.
I think it could make it easy, Mr. Chairman.
This has to come back to us?
The items that would actually create new CRAs, expand the areas, et cetera, would come back to the board. But this motion would establish a general policy that when those items come back to you, that the CRAs have provided or demonstrated whatever infrastructure, that the tangibles that they're doing.
Okay.
So.
Can we, thank you, Madam Attorney. Can we do this as an item and just send it to committee, come to the board? I'm happy to agenda it and let it get heard. Thank you. All right, so motion withdrawn.
Mr. Chair, just as a point of clarification, Commissioner Garcia, if it is within their scope, because I'm working on a CRA that housing is not within their scope, right? Because it's an infrastructure CRA. So I don't have a problem with overlaying priorities if it is within their scope.
Commissioner, let's discuss this at committee.
Okay.
I mean, that's,
Well,
all right.
I was kind of in the middle. I just wanted.
You were, I know, I cut you off because there's no longer a motion on the table, but
Okay.
go ahead.
No.
Go ahead. No, you're right, I cut you off. So
All
go
I
ahead.
wanted to do is also, if you're going to talk about those infrastructure, always keep in mind stormwater as well. Thank you.
We could discuss that in committee too, Commissioner.
I know, but I have to finish my thought.
Commissioner Bermudez, are you still looking to make a motion, or you've read the
No,
room?
no, I just want to say, no, that's fine. Look, I agree that we should look at these reports. The only thing I want to say to Commissioner, Commissioner Gilbert brought it up, and he was right, by the way, and in honor of all the people that came with him, and I think there's even one here in the audience, and Mr. Brainan and Shirley Gibson, and there are areas that have been ignored for a long time that were not donor communities. And the only thing I want to point out is I don't want to see CRAs replace the responsibility of what governments are supposed to do, okay? And there have been many annexations, and local governments are supposed to do their job, just like we're supposed to do our job. So I just don't want to see that happen. And I applaud you for bringing that point out. And I withdraw my motion since I think we're doing the right thing and looking at it holistically.
All right, thank you for that. All right, with that, I think the last item I have on my pull list, which is 6A1, my item, and that is the report from the administration on waste to energy. Now, don't forget about that one. That's important. So, colleagues, if you recall, and I'm sure you do, prior to the holidays at this point, right? Prior to the holidays, we directed the two bidders, the two companies, as well as the administration, to do several things. We asked for several things. One, obviously, the smaller stuff was that we lifted the. Can we have some quiet in the back? We asked for the cone to be lifted so that we can start having communication and discussions. But we also asked if both companies can meet and see if they can work together. And my understanding is that that has occurred, and those discussions are well on their way and are looking very positive. But I'd like to have the administration give us a brief update on that. And one of the other things that I discussed in the last meeting and we had all agreed on is a workshop prior to making a decision. And you're all probably all familiar. My office reached out to your offices to schedule a workshop, and that is when we were then notified that the two companies met and they were starting to have discussions to see if they can work something out. So I think it was premature to have a workshop without a real partnership yet formed. But with that, I'd like to hear from the administration first, and of course, if on their report my colleagues have any concerns or questions, we'll get into that. And then what I've asked, unless this body thinks differently, what I've asked the companies and the administration in my briefings is that definitely I want something by our February meeting. And then I will, of course, reestablish that workshop that we discussed, if it's the will of the board. With that, Chief.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. In compliance with your previous direction, the administration has followed your direction, met with both companies multiple times and their representatives, and they have both represented to the administration that they, in principle, have a path to a potential partnership, but we're working on details. They required the time to work out those details between the organizations, and we also, at the lead of Namita in strategic procurement, she additionally asked them both follow-up questions from their original proposals, and what they have asked is please allow them to determine if they're going to partner or not with each other, and if they are, they don't want to spend the time developing the additional information and answers that their earlier proposal needed, and so we've agreed that that was a reasonable request. At this point, what the administration is doing is simply waiting on the two companies to come back and say they have penned a deal or they have not. And if they have penned a deal, we'll start meeting with them as a single organization. And if they have not, we'll go back to negotiating with them as separate entities. The mayor has met with both companies and has also provided input of what she liked most about each of them's different proposals, and given them guidance of how we want to include everything from our zero waste strategy to our various ways of managing solid waste to overall reduce it. Both companies seem to be fully on board and will be proposing things along those lines once determined if they're a partnership or not.
All right, thank you for that, Chief. And again, I'm going to start I'll start with you, Commissioner from District 7. Just again, keep in mind we'll still if you still want it, but I still plan to have a workshop once they've come to this consensus and have an official partnership for us to give them a better lay of the land of what we are looking for as a body and what we would like to see. But with that, Commissioner from District 7.
Thank you. I definitely think we still need to have a workshop, so thank you for that. And I appreciate that everyone has met with the administration and that they have their ideas. I had an opportunity to meet with them, and I'm sure most of you did. And one of the things that I want to ensure that is being considered are all of our different waste streams. And we've talked about this in the past. We had one group that has an anaerobic digester, one group that does not, and I think that we should consider sludge and also sargassum as two of the possible waste streams, just to get the price on them. Because if we're going to build something, right, we should build something for all the waste that is created by our system, not just the waste that we pick up in a trash can, right? I think there's also a need to have something more flexible in terms of green waste. Right now, we're using our green waste and we're mixing it with the sludge to get it from a class 2 to class 1 so that we can move it. I'm working on a lot of green waste opportunities in my district, and I think that there's other districts that could do it too. So I think that is an area where we could see a change in our waste stream that could be advantageous to our system. I maintain that what we need is a portfolio of options. So as we move towards that portfolio, I don't want to get hijacked by what was proposed for Opelika West. And I say that in a loving way. I believe in composting. I believe in recycling. I think that we should do all these things. I don't know if we need to do all these things in one place. I think that it would make more sense for us long term to split some of this up into different areas, because the cost of moving everything to one location is going to be expensive and is going to get more expensive. Right now, picking up and moving trash from the south is the most expensive zone. Central is the second most expensive zone. The north is the least most expensive zone, right? So I would want them to consider that, where the trash is and where we're moving it to, as we discuss different opportunities. Because I think that there are parts of our system where we could also do some of this work that would help us to cut down on the cost of moving the trash. As we've discussed time and time again, every time you touch trash, it gets more expensive. So there should be a conversation about some decentralization and where we could put some of these pieces. I don't think they all need to exist in one location. I like the idea of having, the incinerator plus something. But I don't necessarily think we need to have one location where you have incinerator plus, right? I think that we could do composting, some there, some somewhere else. I don't think all of our composting has to be on this one site. And I use that just as a very basic example of something that could be done on other Miami-Dade County sites and in other districts. And by the way, this is not